Now, this morning and through the course of the early afternoon, we've got some wonderful panel discussions, and I will do my best also to encourage the conversation into the audience. And again, hopefully you won't be shy in asking questions, anything at all, or even leaving a comment as well. So a quick run through today's program, which again, you can see it on the back of your badges, which you all have, of course. Most of you have already logged on to the Wi-Fi connection here. Again, if you haven't, it's quite simple. It's intuitive, I hope. ING Wi-Fi, and then the most important thing is the code is Warsaw. There will be an opportunity, as with yesterday, to ask questions. Just stand up. It's always best for the cameraman to stand up. Things are recorded. They will be sent to you by email. They'll be available on the website afterwards. And if you want to mention anything online, of course you can, and you just... Oh, well, first of all, you can see the interpretation channels, but again, most of you will have found those yesterday. But on the social media, if you just mention @FEeCampus, Fee-Campus, and then you can hashtag to your heart's content, whatever is the most suitable hashtags for you and your organizations. And then I think there are all the notes. I want to jump quickly into the first panel, but before I do, we do have one Slido question. So if you can quickly zip out your phones and take a little photo of the QR code. And just to whet your appetite of the question before it comes, whilst you're just logging on, looking ahead to 2030, which is not that far away at all, what should be the top EU and national priority to foster generational renewal? And you can answer with two answers. So easier access to land at lower land prices, easy access to loans with better conditions, higher farm incomes, stable markets for farm production, new cap price mechanisms, better international trade conditions, national support for farmers, simpler regulations, stronger training and advisory support. So you can have two options, and we don't need them to lean on the first two of the list necessarily. there is a long list there. And it goes on to the next page. They seem to be racking up in order of the list that I've just read them out. But the last two are simpler regulations, stronger training and advisory support. So, simpler regulations, there it goes. Okay, so simpler regulations, easy access to loans with better conditions, and easier access to land at lower prices. So I guess, given what we heard yesterday, no real surprise there, but it's good to know it as well. And whilst I have more of you in the audience, it's an opportunity to perhaps you can also take out your calendars, and at some point, not quite yet defined, but it will be emailed to you soon, the EAFRD will take place in October in Lisbon. So that's another lovely opportunity for you to have I almost used the word holiday, not a holiday, an opportunity to gather once more and discuss very important things and extend it into a weekend to discover Lisbon, a little bit of sunshine in the autumn time, depending on where you're from. So welcome all of you. I do have a full house now, and with that, I would love to welcome to the stage my first panel of the day. We're going to talk about opportunities for financing the next generation of EU farmers, of course, and we're going to talk about the new MFF and CAP financial instruments. Please welcome, as you can see already, Kirsten Rosenau, Head of Unit for DG Agri at the European Commission. Lennart Bettels, member of the Organics Europe, and do come to the stage, member of the Organics Europe Youth Network and chairman of the German association Junges Bioland. Oban Bonnet, Senior Head of Unit at the European Investment Fund. Helen Anton, Head of Regional Competitiveness Unit, Regional Policy Department, Ministry of Regional Affairs and Agriculture from Estonia. And Lorraine Green, who's Product Development Manager, Strategic Banking Cooperation of Ireland. So welcome to all of you. Kirsten, you've had a busy few days, a busy few months, busy few years. So, where shall we begin? I think actually, I mean, I know most people know you, but I would like you all to just introduce yourselves. We have your titles here, but tell us a bit more about what you actually do.
Okay, so I'm Kirsten Rosenau, so Head of Unit Economic Sustainability at the Commission, so at the DG Agriculture and Rural Development. So economic sustainability, that means basically all the measures, instruments, support instruments under the CAP that support economic sustainability. Upfront, it's direct payments, so all the direct support that helps farmers in their daily life, but it's also investment support, it's financial instruments, it's risk management, insurance, so how can farmers be better prepared for climate change, can be better resilient, and yeah, I'm also in charge of negotiating the next CAP regulation at technical level. So I'm in charge of dealing with the institutions, with the stakeholders, with the parliament, to make sure that we're best prepared for what comes in the future.
Thank you. That's a busy palette. Thank you very much. Just to introduce what you do.
Good morning, everyone. Lennart Bertels, organic farmer from Germany, or gardener, to be more precise. I produce trees with my family at home. And I'm chairman of Junges Bioland, a young organic farmers association from Germany. And we are a member of the Organics Europe Youth Network, which was founded 2 years ago. So it's rather new, very small, but we're working on it.
Thank you very much for that introduction. Lorraine?
Good morning. My name is Lorraine Green. I work with the Strategic Banking Corporation of Ireland in Dublin. We are Ireland's only national promotional bank, and our role is to provide finance to small and medium enterprises and farmers, just getting that low-cost, long-term loans out to our customers.
Thank you, Lorraine. Helen?
Good morning. I'm Helen from Ministry of Regional Affairs and Agriculture in Estonia, so Managing Authority for Financial Instruments. But I think for full circle, I should also say that I grew up on a small farm on Estonian island. And once we were first started with financial instruments in agriculture, I also audited them and also worked for a national promotion institution designing instruments. So it's kind of full circle by now.
I'm sure your family are very proud of you. And finally, Aubin.
My name is Aubin Bonnet. I've been working for the European Investment Fund for the last 17 years now. And I'm developing mandate with either the mandate from the European Commission, but also with direct link with the managing authority at regional or national level. And nowadays I'm covering France, but also Luxembourg and Belgium.
Thank you very much for that introduction. So hopefully you have a flavour from the person themselves of who they are and what they do. So I'm going to start with you, Kirsten. Of course, you've mentioned it. You've mentioned the negotiations, the new MFF, and in particular the CAP. So if you could explain to us how far you've come and what we can expect by the end of the year.
Well, not sure I can fully answer that, but I can surely say what I expect. So
what you expect and what you hope. They might be different things.
Exactly, yeah, so that's true. So I should have maybe said in the introduction as well, of course, I'm responsible also for financial instruments. So this is one key issue. So, yeah, where we are. So we have issued the Commission proposal for the next CAP, as all of you know, 16th of July last year. So it's already almost a year ago. So we had, or we have 2 presidencies so that have dealt with the proposal, so that are preparing basically the reaction to the Commission's proposal. So, I mean, what we had tried to do is, because getting back to what the Slido also gave us, simpler rules. I think this is something that we really have tried to put into practice because we shrunk down a regulation of more than 200 pages on 34. So really try to keep what is essential, what do we think for the common agriculture policy in terms of framework rules. So while we have to keep a common character of the policy, we have to keep the big C. So we have to have some common rules, not least to ensure a level playing field for all players, for the farmers, the financial institutes, for everybody. and also ensure that there's really a single market that we protect. So we have to have some common rules, but we also try to build in flexibility and simplification. So we have therefore gone through all the rules, try to make them lighter and focus on what we really need as framework rules. And this is especially, I mean, true. So we have tried to make sure that support is better targeted to those who really need it, also for the farmers, especially for the young farmers as well. So in giving the member states freedom, but putting some emphasis on where we think that targeting should go. So I've already mentioned that. So for young farmers, the topic of this conference, we have really proposed a set of rules that first of all make sure that young farmers get privileged access to direct support. So they are the only group that we have proposed for mandatory targeting. We have gone up with a starter pack where we give more funding, or we want to make sure, this is just a proposal, we're negotiating. So to young farmers that's starting up businesses, so substantially higher amounts. We have tried to create a sort of one-stop shop where young farmers have a package access to everything that should be devoted to them. And this is really how we have tried to make it more target and simpler. But it's not an easy road because, of course, not every member state agrees on what we have proposed to be simpler and what we have proposed to be, let's say, the common rule book for everybody. So your question was, okay, where are we currently? So we are in discussions with the member states under the presidencies who will issue a progress report at the end of the Cypriot presidency. Then we go with the Irish presidency, who's upcoming, already very actively involved. And then, of course, what's new? The Parliament has also come into the equation. So it's always the Commission makes the proposal, and then we have the co-legislator, Council and Parliament coming in. And the Parliament has also come up with a very strong voice supporting young farmers. They have even put a percentage, so the report came out only now, so it's just very fresh. So with 8% of all the CAP funding that should be devoted to young farmers, with a set of measures reinforced. And what we're particularly happy, I think also, like the Commission, the Parliament focuses on support for active farmers. So those who actually farm and work the land. So we have not as generous a budget anymore at the disposal. So we really have to make sure that this is concentrated. And in that context, I think it's important that we make sure that this actually goes to the people that farm the land, and not, as we sometimes read in the headlines, to foreign investors or golf courses or I don't know what. So this money should really go to the farmers. So that's a little bit where we stand, and we hope, of course, at the end of the year to have an agreement between all of the three parties involved, so that farmers will have a predictable legal framework with which they can start working. So that's important for the ones concerned, even more than for us. And until then, it will be incredibly busy to make sure that this actually can become a reality.
Thank you. You've explained that really openly and very clearly as well. Now, you mentioned a huge wave of support, it seems, from the Commission side, the want to support young farmers, the generational renewal. You also mentioned that it's not easy always with all member states. There's lots of different voices in the room. So far, to what extent have member states been successful in using the financial instruments and targeting these instruments already available to young farmers? And for those who haven't been so successful, what is the wall that is blocking that?
So, I mean, in general, if we look at it over the years, I think we can confidently say that financial instruments are a success story. Yeah? So, because we started out very small, so we're now at 13 member states that use financial instruments altogether. with a rising budget that is devoted to this. Yesterday also the commissioner has mentioned, I mean, what is really important in this context is that with the financial instrument, the beauty is that this money is actually invested but coming back. So it's not money that is, I mean, I shouldn't say lost, but okay, it's a one-off investment. It's obviously not lost that we have with grants or investments on a different scale. But this money is money that essentially can come back and can be reused for the purposes. And in terms of budgetary constraints, this is something which is even more important, I would say. So there it's good to see that if we invest 1 single euro, the return is normally 5 times as high, and if we have guarantees, even 8 times as high. So we have invested, I think, for 450 million that we have invested from our money, we got up to 2 billion of actual investments, and if we would look at guarantees, that would even be higher. So that's really something why we think so this is worthwhile using. Of course, it's with financial instruments, it's a voluntary instrument. It's not an obligation for member states to use it. So we have tried.
It's a very strong argument. You've laid out a very strong case for it.
Yeah, I think so. But then, okay, it's a toolbox that the member states have at their disposal that they can use. And it's like for many other areas that we have. So if you have to set up something new, and you have to, you have to come up with the rules, with the set of way you want to implement it. It's complicated. You have to have insurance that it actually works. You have to have set up all the relations with the financial institutes and so on. So it's not always easy. But I mean, the examples that we have show that it really, once it's set up, once you have found a good way of implementing it, it works and it brings extra value, because the idea is also that the loans and the credit guarantees that we can offer, there are more advantages, obviously. So because we come in with public funding, so the aim of all of this, and we have had the discussions yesterday on how can we make that actually realize, even if we do so, but the idea is to make that happen so that it gets actually cheaper. And then maybe also to add 2 elements on this. So for the moment, what is widely used with the member states that actually do use the financial instruments, it's mainly loans and guarantees, but I mean, we could also be, we also, I mean, this money could be used for equity, for counter guarantees, also for microfinancing. We had small farmers yesterday. So there is still a set of instruments to be more strongly developed. And then if we come to your question on young farmers, it's actually only 7 member states that have a dedicated instrument for young farmers. So there is definitely scope for development or for the development as well. So in general, also maybe to say, we've tried to make also the use of financial instruments easier. We have tried to streamline the rules. We have put up the ceiling for working capital, which is something which is very important always in that context, up to 300,000 euros. And also for young farmers, we have put up the ceiling up to 300,000 from 100,000. So we have really tried to make that more attractive. Many of the speakers yesterday mentioned that access to land is always a problem. Then also that is generally something where if we talk about investments, for EU funds, the purchase of land as an expense is limited, but not under financial instruments. So this remains to 100% financeable also under the instruments that we offer. So we have really tried in the proposal that we made for the continuation of financial instruments to make that more attractive and easier to implement. Now on the uptake, this is just something we can stimulate with exchange of good practice, exactly as we do here, where we have funding that works, so where it actually reaches and where it gives better conditions for young farmers. And this is where we have to work further.
Thank you. Well, let's move to a young farmer, and this time an organic young farmer with the subset even of trees, which we haven't heard so much about, but focusing on the organic young farmer situation. And actually, I think Sebastian, the last speaker of yesterday, is also an organic farmer. So what are the issues that affect you as an organic producer, which are separate issues from just being a young farmer?
First, allow me to say, money given to farmers is never lost.
Tout d'abord, permettez-moi de vous dire que l'argent donné aux agriculteurs n'est jamais perdu. C'est toujours un investissement, surtout quand on investit dans les jeunes agriculteurs. Alors merci pour la question. Alors certes, l'accès aux finances reste l'un des principaux défis, y compris pour les jeunes agriculteurs en bio. Mais la question, ça n'est pas tant de savoir si tel ou tel prêt existe, mais est-ce que le jeune agriculteur a les garanties collatérales pour pouvoir en bénéficier? Les jeunes investissent souvent dans la diversité, ils n'héritent pas, mais ils se lancent dans une activité agricole. Ils investissent dans des unités de transformation, sur des unités de vente à la ferme. Et ce type d'investissement sont souvent vus comme étant un peu plus risqués que l'activité agricole classique. Or, que cherche une banque quand elle veut investir? Elle cherche des exploitations installées, faciles à mesurer, à calculer. Ça diminue le risque. Et je pense qu'il faut rouvrir peut-être la question de l'évaluation des risques en agriculture. C'est la première chose que j'aimerais dire. La deuxième, comme je l'ai dit, les agriculteurs biologiques investissent non seulement dans la productivité, machines, terres, structures. Alors ils le font, bien sûr, mais ils investissent aussi dans des mesures de biodiversité, de résilience climatique, de bien-être animal. Bref, des valeurs sociétales. Mais ces valeurs-là, souvent, n'ont pas beaucoup de valeur de marché. Et donc les investissements qui sont faits dans des actions qui n'ont pas de retour financier direct pour une banque, ça génère du risque. Et donc du point de vue d'un banquier, l'agriculture biologique, ça semble plus risqué, alors que ça ne devrait pas. Parce que les agriculteurs biologiques contribuent à des objectifs sociétaux. Alors comment changer la donne? Comment nous adapter? Parce que c'est très important que l'agriculture ne soit pas vue uniquement par le prisme de la productivité, mais aussi par celui des bienfaits sociétaux. Avez-vous des modèles, avez-vous vu ou pensé à des modèles de meilleure évaluation du risque de votre point de vue? Que voudriez-vous qu'une banque fasse pour vous? Comment est-ce que vous voyez la chose? Est-ce que vous pensez qu'il faudrait ajouter, par exemple, des objectifs sociétaux, de biodiversité? Est-ce que ça devrait faire partie de l'évaluation globale? Oui, bien sûr. Il y a 2 ans, le dialogue stratégique au niveau de l'UE a publié un rapport où il était question d'un système de benchmarking durabilité, afin de voir quelle était la performance dans plusieurs catégories, par exemple, durabilité écologique. Alors c'est très difficile d'en juger. Quand on demande un crédit à une banque, on essaie de les convaincre que sur notre exploitation, on les invite à venir voir la qualité de la production et on espère pouvoir les convaincre de nous donner l'argent. Mais c'est toujours individuel, ça n'est pas standardisé. Alors comment est-ce qu'on pourrait standardiser la chose? En réalité, je ne sais pas. J'espère que la science peut-être pourrait nous aider à créer des indicateurs de qualité qui seraient comparables. Mais c'est une question épineuse. En effet, c'est une question épineuse pour toutes les parties prenantes. Je vais passer à Aubin, du Fonds européen d'investissement, afin de parler de garanties et d'instruments de partage du risque. Il en a déjà été question hier et du rôle que tout cela joue. On a posé la question de leur succès également en termes de volume, de retour sur investissement. Expliquez-nous un peu du point de vue du FEI. comment est-ce que ces prêts fonctionnent.
Yesterday a bit on this. Of course, the European.
Oui, la Banque européenne d'investissement fournit plusieurs types de soutien. Il y a du financement direct aux institutions. Il y a cette initiative phare qu'on appelle agriculture et bioéconomie, paquet de financement. C'est un fort engagement de la BEI en la matière, parce que 13 opérations ont déjà été approuvées pour un montant total d'1,5 milliard d'euros, de l'argent sonnant et trébuchant pour les jeunes agriculteurs. Il y a également les capacités de la BEI à fournir du soutien direct aux grandes entreprises, aux grandes entités qui permettent au secteur agricole de croître. Et puis en parallèle, il y a le Fonds européen d'investissement. C'est nous sommes une institution un peu étrange, un drôle d'animal, parce que nous sommes à la fois propriété de la BEI et de la Commission européenne. 10% de nos actions appartiennent également à des banques publiques et privées. Donc nous allons vers le marché pour essayer d'aligner, disons, les financements et les marchés. Donc nous déployons toute une initiative que je pense que tout un chacun connaît, InvestEU, où le secteur agricole est pleinement éligible, bien entendu, avec 3 volets. Compétitivité, renforcer la compétitivité du secteur agricole. Deuxième volet, innovation et numérisation. Et dernier, et non des moindres, la garantie de durabilité UE que nous offrons au marché. Donc nous sommes une institution très agile. Nous développons des garanties de manière créative. Nous pouvons être... Bon, je ne vais pas entrer dans le détail, mais cela peut être de la sécurisation, ça peut être des garanties de capital aux intérêts, bref, un grand nombre d'instruments. Vous avez dit entreprise agile. Qu'est-ce que vous entendez par ce terme? Bien, agile, comme on l'a dit hier, cela signifie que c'est une institution institutionnelle. Vous savez que parfois, les besoins des institutions financières ne sont pas les mêmes dans les différents États. En Europe de l'Est, par exemple, pour le capital, les banques préfèrent déployer des instruments dits UNCAP, alors qu'en France, en Belgique, voire en Irlande, ils préféreront appliquer un plafond. Donc nous sommes agiles dans la mesure où nous avons une certaine souplesse, nous pouvons être un peu plus directs en termes d'instruments financiers afin d'appliquer un paquet à nos différentes garanties. Alors, en plus de l'instrument InvestEU, ça a été présenté d'ailleurs par le gouvernement hier, il y a les investissements directs au niveau local et régional. C'est très intéressant. Alors ce n'est pas notre cœur de métier, mais nous développons également ce mandat-là. C'est le cas en Grèce, par exemple. Donc encore une fois, agile, nous le sommes dans la mesure où en Grèce, nous combinons des garanties et de l'aide en matière d'intérêt. Ailleurs, nous utilisons des ressources du plan Juncker. Bref, vous le voyez, nous nous adaptons aux besoins du marché. Nous sommes adaptables. Et puis hier, cela a été très bien présenté par mon collègue du ministère de l'Agriculture en France, cette initiative INAF, qui est un mix de nombreuses ressources. Donc une contribution en liquidité des États membres, des garanties budgétaires venant des États membres, ce n'est pas des liquidités, mais c'est une garantie budgétaire. On a également le plan Yuka qui permet d'ajouter encore de l'argent. Donc pour un montant de 270 millions, on s'attend à générer un effet de levier de 3 milliards. Et on a déjà soutenu plus de 10 000 projets. Et 73% de ces projets sont dédiés aux jeunes agriculteurs. On parle d'investissement de long terme. de l'ordre de 82% du portefeuille qui a une maturité à plus de 10 ans. Donc encore une fois, nous sommes agiles dans la mesure où nous développons des instruments financiers qui répondent aux besoins des États membres et des agriculteurs. Oui, j'allais revenir justement aux agriculteurs. Où sont les agriculteurs? Parce qu'il semble que vous ayez un dialogue avec les États membres, et ensuite c'est dans les États membres qu'on va alimenter ces 3 objectifs d'innovation, de compétitivité et de durabilité également, qui je suppose est surtout important pour vous, mais aussi l'innovation. On l'a entendu également lors des discussions d'hier. Hélène, passons à l'Estonie. J'aimerais beaucoup que vous nous parliez du cadre de soutien aux jeunes agriculteurs en Estonie, avec des mesures de la PAC. Et vous dialoguez beaucoup, je pense, avec les agriculteurs. Oui, alors pour vous brosser un peu le tableau, on a des subventions dédiées aux jeunes agriculteurs, en provenance de la PAC. Ensuite, on a des prêts financés par l'UE qui ne sont pas dédiés uniquement aux jeunes agriculteurs. Mais les agriculteurs ont des taux d'intérêt abaissés. Et puis on a également des réinvestissements des anciens programmes. Et donc nous sommes en train d'élaborer des instruments pour les jeunes agriculteurs. Voilà pourquoi je suis très intéressé à découvrir votre expérience en la matière. Parce qu'en effet, il semble nécessaire de prévoir des outils dédiés. Et puis on a également ce système consultatif, ce système d'expertise. On a compris il y a quelques années qu'il y a comme une pièce qui manque dans le puzzle. Et nous avons repris, disons, possession de la conception des programmes pour concevoir tout le parcours de l'usager. Une sorte de processus d'immersion, on fait se rencontrer les jeunes agriculteurs avec les différentes parties prenantes. Et ce qu'on a découvert, ça a été dit hier d'ailleurs, c'est que l'accès au capital, ça n'est pas qu'une question d'argent. L'accès, ça commence bien avant que vous rédigiez votre demande de subvention ou de crédit. Donc on a un programme pour les jeunes agriculteurs, un programme en 2 étapes. Un programme de développement, parce que diriger une exploitation, c'est diriger une entreprise. Et donc, il y a toutes les connaissances entrepreneuriales qu'il faut avoir pour mener son entreprise. C'est un peu là, la première partie. Donc, il y a beaucoup de formation pour les gens qui participent à ces programmes, y compris des jeunes agriculteurs. Et alors ensuite, on passe à la demande de subvention ou de crédit. Une fois l'argent reçu, vient la partie incubateur, ou pépinière. Et c'est cette partie pépinière, justement, consiste à savoir ce qu'on fait de cet argent, comment on investit au mieux pour faire croître l'entreprise. Et pour cela, les agriculteurs auront un parrain qu'ils choisissent d'ailleurs avec nous, afin de les aider à tirer le meilleur de ces investissements. Et donc c'est ce que nous faisons en ce moment. Au-delà même du programme, ce qui est important, c'est ce sens de la communauté. Et les jeunes agriculteurs nous disent que ce qui compte pour eux, c'est de voir qu'il y a d'autres jeunes agriculteurs et qu'il y a une entraide. Et ce qu'on a appris aussi, c'est qu'on a beaucoup investi en début de période. Et maintenant, nous devons nous pencher aussi sur ce qui se passe au bout d'1 an, 2 ans, une fois que vous avez reçu.
Our farmers are telling us the motivation crisis kind of issue. So we really had to think about how we mentor those farmers then.
It sounds like such a nurturing community that you've developed, really, and also with the business plan ideas, with that mentorship, you're giving them such confidence as well, and you're really treating it as an absolute business model from the get-go and giving them confidence to know how to raise the money, ask for the money, and which pots to go to. And then you're developing the financial instruments completely in line with the conversation with the community. Estonia's population, I live in Luxembourg, so everywhere is bigger than Luxembourg. However, However, it's not the largest member state either, and therefore perhaps you have quicker dialogue, access to the community. I'm just asking this question, how easy would it be to roll out that template to other member states?
It is very true that Estonia is a small country, so I think it's quite easy for any farmer to access any type of person. For example, ministry is always in talks with all the stakeholders. But I think the approach of having a kind of ecosystem and understanding the journey that a young farmer takes, I think that's something all member states are able to do.
Thank you. Moving to Lorraine and to Ireland now, and of course, yeah, the EU presidency is going to be taken up very soon by Ireland. I don't know where agriculture sits in the ideas for the next 6 months for Ireland.
I think to say Ireland is extremely focused on agriculture probably isn't an understatement. You know, it's our top producer really, so it's absolutely up there for the presidency. We're looking forward to it as well. It starts on the 1st of July. There's a lot planned.
And there'll be a lot of celebrations as well, I'm
of course.
Sure.
There always are.
Always. Let's move on to what you actually do. So from the banking perspective, I'd love you to talk to us about non-collateralized loans. And this is, again, something that's so important for young farmers. And also, alongside the non-collateralized loans, longer maturity dates.
Thanks, Lisa. And it's been really interesting to hear the experiences of people throughout the conference as well. So I think Ireland is doing something, I'm not going to say unique, but it's certainly up there. So from the experience of Irish farmers, you know, there is a challenge in terms of having land, whether or not a farmer has passed on the land from their parent to child, or whether a farmer is actually leasing land as well. And if that's the case, or succession hasn't taken place, the SBCI has a package of loans that actually supports farmers in this instance. Now, it doesn't cover land purchase. However, it does cover the likes of your machinery, improvement on buildings. So if I take collateralization, for instance, if you go to a traditional lender in Ireland, and there aren't very many of them, they will ask you for security once you get to 100,000 euros. And the reality is that if you don't have a track record, that will actually kick in a lot sooner as well. So you're going to be asked for a personal guarantee at the 100,000 level or even lower. But with an SBCI loan that we provide through the on-lenders, through the traditional lenders in Ireland, you can get up to 500,000 unsecured as a farmer. And coupled with that, we also have those longer term maturities that you're talking about. So the loan that we have in the market at the moment is called the Growth and Sustainability Loan Scheme. It is a 7 to 10 year product, and it goes right from 25,000 euros all the way up to 3 million euros. So it really covers a huge gambit of farmers and small and medium enterprises. And then coupled with that, so it's really a three-parter for us, you're also getting an interest discount there as well. So the guarantees that we receive from the EIB group and through EIF, that materializes itself through an interest rate discount for the borrower. So the borrower is going to benefit from a 1% interest rate discount at a minimum on what they would get ordinarily from their bank or financial institution. And then also you're talking about the green element as well. So we have another discount if you are taking out a sustainability loan, and that is a 0.25% discount on the already 1% discount that you're getting. So if you're investing in green measures, and that could be a new tractor that happens to just be a little bit more efficient than the one that you already have, that's when you will get that interest rate discount. So overall, it's really important, as part of that succession planning, if you don't have that collateral up to 500,000, it's a huge bonus and benefit to farms.
It sounds amazing, and I'm sure there's been quite a lot. Have you seen more uptake?
So with that particular loan, 19% of all loans are to farmers, which is huge. we're capped at 20%. So it's probably one of those things that you'd love to see, that dedicated scheme to farmers. And how would you say this? I think what we're going to do in the next iteration of this is track the data, and the data is really important. So what we're going to do at the moment, we have a 500 million scheme in the market. We're going to have a 1 billion scheme in the market later on this year. So it's increasing by another 500 million. And with that, we are going to track age and gender. And I know there was lots of conversations about women farmers, and it's the year of the woman farmer as well. So it's really important that we talk about that too. So we're going to track age and gender, and that will really flow through and see if people are applying for these loans, but then potentially not drawing down on them. And has there been a discouragement along the way because of age or because of gender? So that will really tell us what is happening in the market and where that may not convert. So we're really keen on supporting that. And there's been huge uptake as well. This all started with an agriculture cash flow loan scheme back in 2017, and it was under the COSME from the EIF. COSME framework. It was a small loan, so it was for cash flow, average €34,000, so quite a small loan. The default rates for farmers in agriculture so low, which is fantastic. So even talking about the risk piece, 0.7% default rate, which is something that probably helps us lean into lending to the agriculture world.
Thank you so much. You've laid it out very, very wonderfully. As you're speaking, and I know, of course, Ireland is a hugely agriculturally based economy, so is Poland, as we heard yesterday, providing about a quarter of the young farmers of Europe, it turns out, which I learned just about 21%, I think it was. We've not discussed how attractive is the idea of becoming a young farmer? And perhaps, I know we've got the voices of the young farmers in the room, but for young people, and I'm turning to you, Lorraine, and perhaps also Helen as well, because you're dealing with the conversations with the young people, and Ireland also has a swathe of technology companies there. Do young people in Ireland, in Estonia, want to become young farmers? Are these conversations and access to money and the importance of our land and food security, is that getting down to younger people?
So I think in Ireland, there are communities around the country that are hugely focused on agriculture, and it's really important for our exporting in Ireland as well. But there are challenges, and I would say that succession in Ireland is a challenge as well. So the older generation are not passing on either their land, their farm assets probably soon enough. It probably needs to be professionalized as well. So the farm has to be earning a lot of money in order for somebody to be taking a pension from it and somebody to be earning a living from it as well. And you can appreciate that it's extremely hard. So what I would say is we need lots of case studies of people who've done it before. You can see a success story, and then you have to be able to see it to be it, and that's particularly prevalent for women farmers as well. But of course, it's in our blood, it's in our nature. So agriculture will always be there for Ireland, and as I've heard today in Poland too.
Thank you. Helen?
Maybe just a few numbers so we understand how many young farmers we have in Estonia. So about 17% of Estonian farmers are younger than 40. Then about 22% of agricultural land is farmed by those young farmers. And I think what we're really proud of is that 40% of our young farmers actually have education in agriculture. But I think what we still need to work on in Estonia, and I guess in all the member states, is the reputation of being a farmer. And that's something we really, it can be the case studies and everything else around it, but that's something we really are working on. I think in Estonia, we're kind of proud of the fact that we have some young farmer influencers on social media, and that they're doing really good at actually explaining what it is that they're doing to other farmers, but also to the society as a whole.
Thank you. I know at least one of the farmers we had speaking yesterday has a lovely Instagram page as well, just in case you want to follow her.
Yeah, maybe to add something on that conversation. So it's quite generally, I think, a challenging conversation. I mean, figures were mentioned yesterday. So a farmer in Europe today, on average, is 57 years old. So I mean, that's a fact. If you look at statistics, really most farmers are at this upper end. And also, if you look at European-wide statistics in investments in modernization and innovation on farm, you can clearly see that the younger generation is much more modernization and innovation prone. That is clearly demonstrated. Now also with this issue of how to stimulate succession and intergenerational renewal. So, I mean, we have tried to build on, in the direct payment, a clause where we have said that farmers that receive a pension, state pension, and are of pensionable age, they should be phased out from direct payments exactly to provide room for the younger generation. But that has not met a lot of enthusiasm by the member states. But in the discussions with the different presidency, we have seen, okay, how can we, because it's quite difficult, what was mentioned here, it's difficult for older farmers to get in many countries a sufficient pension from what they have done and from what their life's work was. So we have to find a middle way, so in actually phasing out and phasing in farmers and making a just distribution. And it's a real challenge in some of the member states. But I mean, what has been set up together with the Cypriot presidency, or has been proposed, that okay, making this phasing out voluntary in member states where it works for the farmers which are at pensionable age and receive a pension, but to link this to an obligatory offer of a farm succession scheme, where the scheme is supported by both money but also advice. So on how to build this in. And I mean, if you look at the different member states, there are some models, for instance, in Finland, where they have these intergenerational contracts where the younger and the older farmers work together for a number of years, for instance, where the farm is handed over gradually, and where also the benefits or the shares are handed over gradually. So there are some good models to build on, but this is definitely a conversation which we have to follow up further.
Thank you. Well, it is something that has come through all of the conversations as well, which is simply having the conversation, and the intergenerational part is a big part of it. Lennart, I think you wanted to come in.
You asked, do young people like to become a farmer?
Well, we know you do.
Yeah, me, but I'm talking to many young people, not only actual farmers, but also from young people at universities. I studied at an agricultural university in Germany, and they are all interested in farming, but it's always the same answer. I'd love to be a farmer, but, and then the obvious reasons flow out, like access to land, access to finance, and so on. So it's basically insecurity, a feeling of insecurity. I think with these measures we are debating or discussing today and yesterday, we can fix big parts of this field insecurity. If we fix it, I think we can get into a mood, into a feeling of positivity, because farming offers so much, really. If you're interested in animals, become a farmer. If you're interested in plants, become a farmer. And if you're interested in soil, become a farmer. If you're interested in climate protection, water protection, air protection, whatever, become a farmer. If you're interested in technologies, become a farmer. If you're interested in business, whatever, become a farmer. In sales, become a farmer. It has everything, really everything. And this is something we maybe have to, we have to start tell stories, positive stories about farming. We have to fix the political stuff and the regulatories, of course, but then we have to get into this storytelling of what farming actually can deliver. Last weekend, I visited 2 farms with a group of young organic farmers from my organization, and these farms were so diverse, so interesting, because organic farming is often a niche. There's not, these market structures like processors and retailers. So many farms have to do it on their own. And these farms did it. They have the production, they have cattle and pigs, but they also have butchers on that farm. They have mills on that farm. They have bakeries and cafes, restaurants on that farm. They even built a kindergarten next to the farm because some of the employees got kids and they were on the edge to leave the farm. They didn't want to, so they talked to the local authorities and together they built a kindergarten. This is the kind of regional development I want to see, and this is what we have to support, I think.
That's a wonderful story. I think you've given us the soundbite of the day, so any videographer here is going to cut out that, become a farmer, ... But you mentioned, the big word you mentioned there is insecurity, and I think that's why Helen's program, or any program where there's deep conversations with the community and building up that confidence and mentorship and intergenerational conversations as well, it gives, it eats away at the insecurity, and to have the business strength, to know the knowledge of the intergenerational examples, all of that. I'd love to open the floor to questions. Yes, I've forgotten your name, but I know it's about microfinance.
Thank you. Good morning. Yes, I'm Ewa Bańkowska, Microfinance Center. We are a regional network for microfinance institutions working in Europe, Western Balkans and beyond. And my question is, of course, about microfinance. I'm really interested to hear from the whole panel, actually, what's your experience in working with microfinance institutions, and hopefully also what are your plans towards this sector. And just to give a context for my question, microfinance institutions, they have currently in EU, they roughly serve 2 million farmers, usually small and unbanked. They also provide not only financial services, but they are well positioned to provide non-financial services, education, mentoring, digital skills improvement, green transition, facilitating collaboration of farmers as well. And we were speaking a lot about female clients and female farmers, and definitely microfinance institutions would rather go to visit a mother of 3 and a dog rather than to make her come to the office. So the question is, what's your experience? What's the future plans? And maybe also the specific question to Ms. Rozenov, like what is DG Agri support for the sector development, microfinance sector development to finance farmers?
Thank you very much. So microfinance. Who would like to take up the mantle first of all? Lorraine, I'm looking at you first of all because actually the defaulting on microfinance loans, as I understand it, is also small because there's lots of conversations going on.
Absolutely. So thank you for the question. We have Microfinance Ireland in Ireland. It's a separate institution. It is run by our Ministry for Enterprise. They do loans from 5,000 up to 50,000. It is for farmers as well. We do not provide, counter guarantees or bilateral guarantees to microfinance because they have their own relationship with our enterprise department. But they work very closely with the on-lenders that we also work with. So originally, when Microfinance Ireland started, you had to be declined by a bank or financial institution in order to get the funding. That is no longer the case. It's evolved over the last couple of years. It's really positive that has evolved, because in order to get a decline from a bank, you have to go through quite a lot of administration, which people have spoken about, and that's one thing that I might mention later on. Every institution and organisation has its place in the ecosystem, and it's really important that you're there, and it's important that they're in Ireland as well. That would be my take on it.
Thank you. Oban?
Yeah, and Of course, in our institution, so the European Investment Fund, the microfinance institution can send application and to be eligible to the InvestEU facility for, as I mentioned before, the competitiveness in particular, but also the innovation and sustainability type of guarantee. I think after the EIB also can provide some lending directly to the microfinance institution. And yeah, of course, I think on all this discussion, I think we should not oppose the one to the other. You know, we should work. I think all together. You have also to come back to jump into the intervention previously with the financial institution. They have also some regulation to respect. You know, the financial institution need also to be secured when they lend. They don't lend because they don't want to lend. They lend because there is a risk. They need to report to the shareholders because there is a regulation also that oblige them to take some securities up to, I don't know, 100, 120%. So they need collateral. So this is a point that also we need to understand.
Yeah,
and
but just jumping in there, sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
It does seem from my meager knowledge compared to all of you experts in the room that my understanding is with microfinance and what you've explained, Lorraine, the defaulting on these loans is less than others.
Is less than other.
So that's data, that's solid data.
Yeah, that's the data, but still there is some default. So you cannot, because it's less than the other, that you can do only unsecured type of loan. You need at the end of the day, is it directly to the collateral of the farmer or the young farmer or whoever, or through the product that we are proposing under the European Investment Fund to have some collateral whatsoever. So it could be a public collateral, but on the asset supported. And this is, sorry, but we provide a solution. The national public also entities like we have seen yesterday with BGK is providing a very extremely good proposal and solution for limiting at the end of the day the risk and the collateralization to enable the financial institution to be able to support these activities.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe from our side. So first of all, in the CAP proposal that we've put forward, we put a real emphasis on small farmers, which can, of course, include micro farms. So we have proposed an obligatory scheme for small farmers, which has much lighter conditions than the conditions for others. So which also is financed through mainly lump sums, so where there's less controls on the funding involved, and which is really a simplified package. So that's not to the liking of all member states that this is obligatory, but that's what we have proposed, and that's currently under discussion. And then in my entry statement, I've clearly said when it comes to financial instruments, it's an area where we would like to see action. So our funding that we provide for financial instruments can clearly be used for microfinance, and it's one of the areas for further development, which I've singled out already in my entry statement. So that's perfectly possible, but that then has to be developed in conjunction of the stakeholder with the different member states concerned, so that this is really an offer. And I mean, we've heard that this is something which goes into the portfolio or into the attention of the different member states.
Thank you, Eva. Thank you, Eva, for the question. I have your name now. Any other questions from the floor? Yes.
Aneta Suchoń from Poland, from University in Poznań. I would like to underline that I think it's the main crisis is a crisis of agricultural land in the Europe, because when I'm hearing all the person, the first is the access to the land. And I think it's a very difficult problem because we have less and less land, and this is a problem with conversation land to the building land. So I'm thinking about other instruments, maybe some payment for a lease, because lease, I think it's a good for a young farmers because it's not a high price, because the main reason it's the high price of the land, and there is the lack of the land. So I'm thinking maybe European Union should think about some, but I think it will be difficult because of the regulation. So less conversation to building land from the agricultural land, because when I'm thinking about the new generation and about sustainability, what will be in 100, 200, 500 years in the future, we will have less and less land. So my question, what is in your country, maybe you have some internal instruments how to make less land, and maybe European Union should create the program for paying a rent, as I said. And in another continent, in Canada, it's also one instrument because I also make research on this Canada regulation, that, for example, state and municipality create some fund that if someone sell the land and it's maybe they would like to make a conversion to a building land, they can buy it and they can rent for the farmers. So they also create some special municipality funds. And I make compare some Sika data that a lot of young farmers have the lease from these funds because it's the better access. So I think it's not only the problem in Europe, I think that's also around the world, it's the access to land, it's the main problem.
Thank you. So access to land, I mean, that depends country to country, member state to member state. There's different issues, but I think, Helen, you want to come in here.
Yes, I wanted to comment on it because in Estonia we have a Rural Development Foundation that we work for, that we don't have a national promotion on banks, we have a national promotion institution. And from the state-owned resources, we do have a land capital lease in place as an instrument. We cannot do it from EU funding for different regulations, but we do have that instrument, and it's definitely very necessary.
And as has been described, perhaps Leonard, you want to come into this because you're speaking to a lot of young farmers, and you said specifically you've spoken to a lot of young people who are not yet farmers, even though you do wonderful promotional work there. And there's different ways one can access land: succession, you can buy it, you can lease it. So what are the conversations you're having?
I totally agree with you. It's right. Farmers' land belongs in farmers' hands. We have to make sure that the limited amount of land, it won't grow. You know, it will even shrink from time to time for different reasons. But we have to make sure that the limited amount of land stays in farmers' hands. So we have to keep investors out of agricultural investors away from farmland. That is very important. For example, public land. Whenever municipalities or whatever own land, and they're looking for people to lease it or to buy it, we should make sure that farmers have a pre-empty right to get to that land. That is very important. Another example, I heard it somewhere, is land banks or cooperatives that buy land and give it to preferred conditions to farmers, especially to young farmers. And at this moment, it is possible for legal authorities to put these conditions into the frameworks. For example, young farmers before other farmers, or female farmers before other farmers. I think these are chances we have to take. This is very important. But one last comment: leasing over buying. Yes, there are certain good arguments for it. But I just talked about long-term perspectives of farming. When I think of, and every farmer in the room knows what I'm talking about, when I talk about humus formation it is a process that takes decades and can be destroyed within 1 year, for example. These are all long-term measures. For that, it is very important that farmers have long-term access to a certain land, really a certain land. That is very important. So we should make sure that not all land is leased, but farmers have a chance to actually buy land and cultivate it on a long-term perspective.
Thank you, Lennart. Urban?
Maybe something on the portfolio that we are managing. Yeah, land acquisition is a topic, but it's not like we discuss all these 2 days really predominant issues. I don't know, is in Western Europe, for instance, the size of the land are still remain the same in superficie. The number of farmers are decreasing, so they are becoming more and more really businessmen. With a big land and a huge business, but the land acquisition, I think you have a lot of national initiative and so on. So in our portfolio, covering the land acquisition is not what we have seen statistically. Is not the main topic. Is more investment to become competitive. The succession of the farm from the generation to the generation. This is where the demand from the banking institution are the strongest.
I think you've taken up the microphone, so I think you might want to add a comment.
Yeah, well, it's just a comment. So in terms of data, which are important, is we have set up the European Land Observatory. So because we do not have comparable data across member states, and it's very important so that we know what's actually going on the land markets, also to make informed policy. So we're setting this up, and it's really important, I think, to get a better picture on land availability, on shrinking or not, and prices. So in terms of that. But that having said, so in terms of support, land lease or land that you buy or that you own, in terms, for instance, of direct payments, that doesn't make a difference for our support. As long as you farm the land in whatever way possible, you have access to support. And for financial instruments, I've also outlined that is perfectly possible. So there are limitations certain when investments are made, how much can be paid for land buying actually in that package. But in overall terms, the support doesn't necessarily lean on ownership. So it can be in a different form. What is important for support is that the farmer farms the land, whether he's a leaser or an owner.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the questions. And it really is the perfect segue to the next panel, which is entitled Land Acquisition and Startup Finance for Young Farmers. So you didn't know it perhaps, but that is the perfect segue. And so with that, a huge thanks to our first panel of the morning. Thank you very much. Thank you all. And so now to move on to land acquisition and startup finance for young farmers, please welcome to the stage Zana Paula, Senior Project Manager, Program Development Finance Institution, Altum from Latvia. We also have Giorgio Venceslai, Head of Enterprises Services Department, Ismea Italia, and Andrea Di Marchi, Col Pare Farm in Northern Italy. So welcome to all three of you. Thank you. And so I believe you have a presentation. You can do the presentation from here or from the lectern. Yeah.
Yes, good morning. So as I was mentioning to my colleagues from Ministry, I did not pay for the comment about the land lease, but we will see a land lease instrument in the presentation. I'm from Altum, which is the only development finance institution in Latvia. And we serve, we provide access to SMEs and farmers in all of Latvia, and we provide loans, guarantees, equity instruments. So farmers is not our only segment that we operate, but it's very important for us. And today I will briefly show the instruments that we have for land acquisition. So we have loans that are specifically for purchase of land. We're loans that are meant for different type of investments for farmers. We also have a land fund, and we do guarantees for farmers. For the purchase, for the land purchase loans. So this is a very specific product that allows only to buy arable land, and some buildings are eligible, some forest land is eligible, but mostly it's only for agricultural land. And this is not a product that is specific for young farmers, so all farmers are welcome. But for young farmers, we have a few conditions that make it more attractive. Loans are up to 1 million and maturity up to 30 years. The loan, the interest rates are current, it's either fixed or floating rate, but it's currently around 6 to 7%. We have heard some complaints that the rates that Altum provides is higher than commercial banks, which is a good thing. So that means that banks are able to see this segment in Latvia as something that they can finance. Because when you finance purchase of land, then you have the collateral for banks. But for the young farmers, the benefit is that they get to defer the principal repayments for 3 years. And also we require that, of course, you cannot buy the land and not use it. So it has to be farmed, and you have to have certain income thresholds met. Certain income from each hectare. But for the young farmers, we give them a 5-year period when to start up and get the farm running and to meet these thresholds. Then another of our products is loans for small farmers in rural areas, where we define small farmer as with a turnover up to 250,000 euros, which is not that small for on the Latvian scale. And loans are also up to 250,000. On paper, in reality, the average loan in this program is around 50,000 euros. So these are really, we don't call it a microfinance facility, but the loans, the average loan really is closer to a microfinance loan. Here, loan maturity is up to 15 years, and the land can be a part of the project. So here we often see clients that want to buy land, but they also need to buy either agricultural machinery, or they need to buy animals, or build farmhouses. So it's different type of investments, and then they can easily combine this in one project and finance it. Here we have, the land purchase is not the main aim in these loans, so it has to be a part of the project. And we have some limitations. We finance this program also from our reflows, so then we don't have to apply this 10% limitation on land purchase. And recently, and this year, we started financing this program also from the new cap financing, and then there is no limitation for land purchase for young farmers. And then another instrument that we have, it's called the Land Fund of Latvia, and this is something that is not financed from the state budget. It's not financed from the EU funds. It's a separate business unit that works with. We purchase agricultural land that comes on the market in Latvia, and then we rent it out through auctions that are public. We rent it out to farmers, and here again the young farmer has a benefit, because when the young farmer participates in the auction, then it goes higher in the priority of among the auctioneers. We also sell land mostly it's after the lease agreement ends, then we offer the renter to buy this land if they want to. If they have tried out this land and they decided, yes, this is where I want to make my farm perform longer, then they can buy this land. And another instrument that we have is leaseback deals, which was initially built as a cash flow management instrument for farmers, because the farmer could sell its own land, it could sell to us, and then lease it back straight away, and for up to 5 years, and the farmer could buy it back. Can buy it back during any time of these 5 years. We buy it for a bit less than the current market price, and then after 5 years, the farmer can buy it back for the market price that was at the point when he sold it. We've seen this as a very, very useful product for farmers who are struggling with finance, and then they can they don't have to go to bank to get other loans. They can kind of take this loan out against their land and restructure their farm, find their feet again, and until last year we had almost 100% buyback rate. So the farmers always, when they sold the land and then they bought it back from us. Lately, we've experienced three bad years of weather conditions when for farmers have struggled with profitability, and now we are unfortunately seeing some farmers who are unable to buy the land back at the end of these 5 years, and they just say you can sell it to other farmers. And another specific function that we have for the land fund, we're given mandate by the state to have a preemption rights to buy any agricultural land in Latvia. It sounds huge, but it was established so we would not let as previous panel mentioned, that the land is very limited, and we're not getting more of agricultural land. So not to allow land to be not sold for other purposes and not to lose the arable land, we have the right to buy any property that comes to the market, but thankfully now we don't have to use these rights almost ever, and also if the deal price is below the market price. When the land fund was established, then we saw that there was a lot of creative approaches when people were showing on papers that the land costs 10,000 when the market price is 30,000, and then to maybe avoid some tax payments. And then this was a way how we could step in and stop these deals from happening. And what I can say from 10 years of experience with the land fund, that we really don't have to use these preemption rights. Now we don't have to use these preemption rights almost ever, because the market has stabilized and is working as it should. I'm not gonna talk about guarantee products, because I'm always in these events, I'm surprised how well guarantees are working in other countries. In Latvia, somehow we have guarantees for farmers, but we don't see that much interest. For SMEs, a lot, but especially for farmers and especially for land purchase, almost never banks are requiring ultimate guarantee. So that's in short. That's in short about the Latvian instruments, and I will give floor to our southern neighbors.
Giorgio. Thank you. Thank you.
Buongiorno a tutti.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning again. My name is Giorgio Venceslai. I'm the head of the department managing financial instruments at ISMEA. ISMEA is a public body under the supervision of the Ministry of Agriculture, which was set up last century with the primary objective of collecting quantitative data about the agricultural sector. So our work consisted in receiving data on the price of produce, convey them to the Ministry of Agriculture so that it could get familiar with the situation in the environment, in the agricultural context, so as to be able to draft policies both nationally and within the EU. Over time, ISMEA's tasks have grown, and there was an increase in the quality and quantity of data collected by ISMEA, which ISMEA still collects. We have very extensive networks, so we know exactly the prices of agricultural products and processed products. We provide also technical support to the ministry in developing, for example, European policies. And on the basis of all this knowledge, we started adding financial instruments, started building financial instruments aimed at solving or helping solve the market gaps in the agricultural sector. What are these issues? We have been discussing them for 2 years now, 2 days now, my apologies. So we already know that the average age is very high. It's very high throughout Europe, but particularly high in Italy. We have a population problem that also has an impact on agriculture. Then access to credit, it's another hot topic, as well as access to land. This being a critical production factor, but also a limited critical production factor. So we have to make sure that land is used correctly, that it is available to farmers, and that is why ISMEA manages the financial instruments aimed at intervening to counter these issues. We have instruments supporting generational renewal, takeover from father to son. We have guarantee instruments. We manage the first largest public tool for guarantees. So we provide portfolio guarantees and individual guarantees, which allow farmers provide important guarantees and be able to access credit as a consequence. And we also manage instruments to allow access to land. These instruments have changed over time. We have inherited Generazione Terra, the instrument we are currently managed, which was set up by the ministry in 1948. And it was set up originally with an aim to favoring the permanence of agriculture as farmers in the countryside after the war, to avoid excessive depopulation of the countryside and excessive urbanization. So keeping people in rural areas, that was the aim at the time. This instrument has evolved over time. It became compatible with the latest EU rules, including on state aid, and at the turn of the century, it was refocused on young farmers, on young start-uppers, those who were not farmers and wanted to become a farmer. We have tweaked it time and time again, and now the newest version of Generazione Terra, we are now in the 3.0 edition, is an instrument to ensure access to land for those who have never been farmers before, but also for young farmers who already are farmers and who want to grow their farm. What is this? Well, essentially, it's a sort of land lease. So we purchase land and lease it to a farmer with some special arrangements. So through this lease, the farmer commits to returning the value of land in 6 monthly installments over a maximum of 30 years with possible amortization, if appropriate, at a market interest rate, which is quantified on the basis of the market interest rate established by the Commission, plus the spread, which we calculate on the basis of the risk we associate to the beneficiary. And this risk is assessed on the basis of a rating system, the same we use for guarantees as well. So it's a fully integrated system that allows us to assess farms from different angles and considering different aspects. This is an advantageous tool for farms because it allows farms or farmers in this case to access land without having to provide additional guarantees and to have the land immediately available to them, knowing that in case of issues the land will revert to ISMEA, so we will fully retrieve from the guarantee the exposure we had exposed ourselves to. So this is an instrument that was originated as a market instrument with no state aid. What we do is integrate it with a premium for new farmers in case applicants are not farmers but young people who want to set up for the first time as a farmer. And at that point, we have this set-up premium, 100,000 euro, which is provided to deduct from the installments to be paid in the first 5 years. This is very important because we are connecting a premium to a financial instrument. So there's always this wider connection between the farmer and the farm. These are yearly calls that we put out. This year we have allocated 120 million euro for our operations, and a novelty compared to the previous instrument is that today we issue different amounts for different geographical areas. So we have 40 million for the south of Italy, 40 for the north, and then we have a horizontal amount without geographical strings attached for those young people who want to become farmers and who have carried out studies so that they can set up their farm. This geographical distribution of resources allows us to balance our portfolio and also cover our risks, risks that could derive from excessive concentration of our risk exposure on specific geographical areas. We also have a reserve that is allocated to those investing in inner areas or in mountain areas where it is harder to access land, although in those instances land tends to be less expensive. So our intervention is very advantageous for all involved. Thank you. Andrea.
Buongiorno a tutti, sono De Marchi Andrea, titolare.
Good morning, my name is Andrea De Marchi. I'm the owner of Colpare Farm. I was delighted to accept the invitation. I'm proud to be able to talk to you about my farm. I really appreciated all the interventions I heard yesterday. Sometimes we take for granted what we do in our farms. We saw yesterday that beautiful picture of the married couple on a tractor or a little child on a tractor. And I could see how different we are, but how much we have in common. Now, our work goes well beyond the standard 8 hours working day. It's a lifetime you spend with your family in your farm. our entire family lives on the farm. And there are very many anecdotes that we take for granted, but which aren't. When I saw that picture of the tractor, I thought back when I was young, and also when my daughter, before she turned 3, I asked her, Aurora, what gift would you like? A doll, a plush animal? And she said, yes, you can buy it and give it to my sister. And what do you want? I asked her, and she said, well, I want a green tractor just like that. So it's a good sign, it's encouraging. You understand, you realize that they appreciate what you do. So the passion of parents involving their children in what we do is really sowing today something we may harvest tomorrow. So as parents, we have to convey the passion in what we're doing, just like our parents did with us. Many young people, at least in my local area, have taken over their parents' farms. There has been a generational turnover or renewal. There is a lot of willingness to do, a desire to do, but unfortunately, as is often the case, sometimes we are under-supported. We are a small family-run farm. We have 13 hectares, mainly farming Prosecco Valdobbiadene grapes. Our aim is also to diversify the farm, and for this, over the years, I have also developed some local varieties of the terroir, in addition to Valdobbiadene DOCG, and also added some sturdier varieties with greater robustness and increasing also variety. We're a small farm, and we follow the entire process. So from the land to the table, quite literally. And for this, in 2020, we were certified as biodiversity friends in order to attest to our end clients how we work. Agriculture is a very wide sector, but we wanted to highlight what makes us different. So sustainability is definitely one of the key values for us. We really focus a lot on this. As for marketing, our high-quality product is sold essentially to either private clients or to the HoReCa sector, hotelry, restaurants, and catering. Our production process takes place entirely within the farm, so farming, processing, and sales. It's a process that calls for major investments, requires full support and help. Sometimes it's not like we always want more, but they're not enough. And I think that some of these calls should be open with a wider window so that farmers can also get to know and understand better whether the project is fit for us or not. And since colleagues from other non-agricultural sectors have a higher age threshold, that's 45 years instead of 40, so it might be appropriate to consider raising the bar, raising the age from 40 to 45. That's just an option. But if you take over your parents' farm, maybe 40 years is not always the right age, or maybe it's a bit too low. Since the average age is increasing. So there's sometimes difficulties of finding someone willing to take over. Sometimes it takes time, and some extra help might go a long way. in the farm, we need investments to improve efficiency in order to update and replace the equipment that in some instances we have been given by our parents. If we want to innovate, for example, we set up a photovoltaic system. If you want to update your equipment, the lab equipment, in order to improve the qualitative standards, the quality levels, purchase of buildings for processing our products, and for marketing in order to be able to expand, to sell to new markets. In our terroir, unfortunately, we are faced with specific difficulties. In some cases, they are shared with others. Climate volatility, cost shocks, and other complications due to red tape. When we have to do whatever, we have to file and send so many papers, documents. It's very much based on bureaucracy, whereas we'd need some leaner processes so that we can focus on our farm, on our production. As for investments, even when dealing with the banks, the time frame is 15, 20 years at best. When working with local banks, that was at least my instance. With small local banks, purportedly the ones that know the players, the local players, and that trust them, that was not always the case. Personally, I had to buy land with mortgage, and they asked as a collateral my dad's pension. That's possibly a bit too much. And then I resorted to another larger bank, and fortunately things worked out. The conditions were better and acceptable for us. So I moved to a different credit institution. But it's a real pity for local banks, small local banks, to miss out on these local farms. Even though they provide shorter maturities and higher interest rates, but possibly obtaining better conditions for them and also for us via them should be considered. Because when you take over from your parents, you're not necessarily a sole child, and not all siblings might be interested in carrying on the family farm. So sooner or later, you'll have to pay back your brothers and sisters. So help in access to credit spread out over a longer time frame is definitely a strong way of supporting the farm that otherwise might find itself in the position of having to pay off the various siblings and then struggling to stay on the market and carry out further investments necessary for the farm. So you have to choose either or. Personally, at the beginning of the year, I started managing some land that a small local farm could not support, could not sustain. They could not pay off the siblings, in a nutshell, and so they had to sell part of the land, and I took over managing it. But it's a pity to see a colleague having to sell off part of the farm because he had already contracted some mortgages, etc. So he had no other way of paying off his brothers and sisters, and it's a real shame. Because when you really commit your life to achieving something, it is painful to have to, sell off bits here and there to cover for all expenses. Via my trade union, I was so lucky that I was introduced to the SMEA project, which paved the way to new opportunities. And I said, why not? There was 1.4 hectare of a vineyard already planted, and investing in this was a big investment, but it was not like we were starting from scratch. I didn't have to plant the vines, so the initial expense is big, but you're already starting with something that is immediately productive. You don't have to wait years before the vines become productive. And Ismea was a partner that allowed us to carry out this investment, even though the vineyard is not immediately close to home. We received an investment of 328,000 euro with a 30-year term maturity, and this allowed us to face all expenses. Now, I'd like to share with you an anecdote about the way our farm works. Of course, every farm has its peculiarities. In 2004, when I finished studying, I immediately decided to stay on the family farm. And then, as is often the case, fragmentation and splitting of inheritance didn't allow me to join my dad's farm. So in 2012, 2013, I opened another VAT position, so another farm, another company. So we were working together, but as separate entrepreneurs. And I was renting vineyards from them. So that's a possibility for startups. You can rent land, but that's not the ideal situation, because then banks look at your production, at your balance sheet. But if you have a rental contract for the land lasting 10 years and you want to receive financing for 20 years, there's a mismatch. I decided to invest in the farm, new equipment, new systems, and after a couple of years, I participated in a PCR call, the first in 2013 as a new farmer for setting up. As a grant, and after a couple of years, I renewed the machinery, starting from 30,000 euro. It sounds like a lot, but if you want to set up a new farm, well, it depends on whether there's someone helping you or not. 30,000 euro might sound like a lot, but if you have to buy a tractor, that's not enough. And then you need everything else. You have to make sure that everything is safe, that the farm operates in a safe way. So even just buying the tank for fuel is something you need, but something that isn't covered by that amount. So in 2015, we applied for other interventions to buy new machinery and then to purchase the land. This is all to say that, yes, every drop helps. But we also need some bigger investments with better interest rates spread over a longer duration.
Right. So we do have a few minutes for questions, and I'd directly like to go to the floor for questions. I'm not sure if that was a hand up or it was just a movement. Any questions from the floor? I have plenty of prepared questions, but I prefer to give you the opportunity. Gosh, it's very silent. I think people are almost setting themselves up for the coffee break, but I'm going to turn to you, Zana. I won't keep you too long, I promise, but we haven't heard so much from you. We had a wonderful display of what's going on in Italy, very, very full presentations, but let's move back to everything that you've done, Zana, in Latvia. And the Land Fund, it's quite unconventional in some ways. So when you were setting it up, when you came to all of the pricing structures, the percentages for interest, how did you come up with those figures?
Well, it's the Land Fund celebrated 10-year anniversary last year. So it was all put in motion in 2012, 2013 by a special law where the Ministry of Agriculture mandated this function to the Land Fund that was later integrated into Altum. And it's been adjusted. It's we're responding to market what we see the requirements, and and the needs. So it's it's been consultations with what's needed in the market and what we can offer. And of course, as I mentioned, it's not we don't have any public funding, so it has to function as a business unit. We're not making profit, but we're also not losing money. So it's a mechanism that has to find a balance. And we see from the demand that we see that it's steadily over these 10 years, it's been 2,000 farmers that we have supported through this instrument. So the demand is steady every year.
So 2,000 farmers, and the age range of these farmers?
It varies a lot. Young farmers are about under 10% of the whole portfolio. So when I hear that there are some instruments that are specific for young farmers, I'm also thinking maybe we should have something very specific. But I heard from my colleagues that we are planning to make a change to move the young farmer higher in the priority list, because right now it's the previous renter that has the buying rights, and then the young farmer and the neighboring property. So we're thinking of moving the young farmer higher in the priority list. We're also doing a special targeted outreach to young farmers, where we have a list of properties that will come on the auction, and then we try to reach out also to young farmers and see maybe this is something that you're interested in. But of course, there's the location of the land and the condition. That's all the factors that affect the decision of the young farmer.
And then, just following on from some of the conversations we've had earlier this morning and yesterday as well, succession. We heard it again just today, in fact, is one of the conversations. And then Leonard was talking about young farmers who might want to become a farmer for the first time. So you've got the leasing model, you've got the buying model, the buyback model as well. So how does your land fund generate interest in new farmers?
Well, I will not credit that land fund is responsible for convincing some young people to go into farming. So the need, the wish, the ambition has to come from the person itself. But then through the regions, and we have people working in all regions of Latvia, we reach out. They're working actively with clients, and it's less than 2 million people in Latvia, so it's everyone knows everyone, so it's not that hard. The amount of possible farmers and young farmers is quite limited, so we try to reach out to them and find them.
And just on the point of leasing, to underline it, as it came up earlier today, has that been very popular as an option?
Yes, it's the farmers lease the land through they participate in an auction, they lease it, and then usually the lease is for 5 years, and then at the end they can buy it. Sometimes often they buy, and then sometimes they, no, I want to keep leasing it, but the lease is the most popular way.
It's a huge choice as well. And Frank has a question. And if anyone else has a question, please do raise your hand so they know where to walk to next.
Am I supposed to stand up? No.
Even you, Frank, yes.
Even me. I'll stand on my chair even if you want. No, it's actually probably a question that will bounce back to the European Commission colleagues, because we heard in the previous presentation, if I was correct, that the colleague from Estonia was mentioning that with her land fund or foundation, I think she called it, she was saying that this was not eligible for support from the European funds. And it seems that I think you're saying the same thing for Altum. I mean, my understanding of the regulation is that this is eligible in terms of the purchase of land, at least for young farmers in the current MFF, whether it's done through regular sort of mechanisms or things like this. I understand it is eligible, and maybe all farmers in the next MFF, but I think it might be useful if it is possible to clarify this, because I think this is an interesting area of opportunity. Also, in terms of putting equity, for example, into these funds, I think this is classified as a financial instrument. And and therefore could be supported by EU funds. But I don't know if Kirsten or Nevelin might be able to answer when he comes back. I'll give you the...
Thank you, Kirsten. You've been...
Put you on the spot.
You can walk to the stage if you prefer, as you wish.
No, I don't think that's necessary, but I said it already in my entry statement, or it was pretty clear. For financial instruments, there is no limitation on including access to land in any financial instrument as a full eligible expense. In terms of investments, there is a limitation. So a limitation when it's a grant that is directly paid, there it's limited to 10%. So of the investment itself. But if it's taken care as a loan under financial instruments and a loan is provided for, then it's 100% eligible. Okay?
Thank you. Clear and underlined. Thank you for raising that point, Frank. Any further questions in the room? I don't see any hands up, and I feel a little lull in caffeine levels. So I'm going to keep us right on time. So thank you for no questions in a way. Thank you so much to the panelists. Thank you very, very much. I'm hoping none of you are going to disappear before lunchtime, but I know some people have to travel here and there. So please do come back, because on your seats when you return will be a feedback form. And of course, if you do take the time, it'll only be a few minutes to fill in that form, then all of the wonderful organizers can make sure the next conference is even better. And there is one coming up in Lisbon in October, date to be confirmed. So I'm going to keep you no more. We will return at 11:30. Thank you very much, and thank you once more to our panel. Thank you.
Questa storia inizia con mio nonno che ancora 50 anni fa ha impiantato questa azienda e ha sempre avuto a cuore, insomma, l'allevamento in montagna, in particolare in questa zona. E di seguito mio padre ha seguito le sue orme perché anche lui è molto convinto di portare avanti questo progetto. E poi sono arrivato io, anch'io ho iniziato a fare un lavoro completamente diverso da questo, però per un certo diciamo, impegno nei confronti di chi mi ha preceduto, ho pensato che fosse naturale continuare a fare questo lavoro. Poi sono arrivati i figli, Simone che si è comunque da subito avvicinato a questo mondo, interessato prima alle macchine, poi alla terra e poi agli animali, e poi ha scoperto anche lui la sua passione del trasformare il prodotto che è il latte.
Io da un po' di anni mi sono appassionato, diciamo, al mondo caseario e così ho deciso di specializzarmi in questo settore e poter dare un valore aggiunto alla mia azienda. E ultimato il mio percorso ho deciso insieme ai miei genitori di mettere in pratica tutto quello che avevo studiato, dato che insomma la materia prima ce l'avevamo direttamente in casa e avevamo insomma le possibilità anche di vendere un po' il prodotto direttamente noi. La produzione di formaggi freschi richiede molto impegno, bisogna sempre essere lì a controllare i parametri, la temperatura, l'acidità, perché anche lì un minimo errore rischia di far ottenere un prodotto totalmente diverso da quello che si vuole avere. Va bene mantenuta la tradizionalità e tutto, però bisogna anche adeguarsi alle nuove tecnologie e seguire insomma tutti i parametri. Ho avuto la fortuna di poter creare uno stabilimento, cioè un piccolo stabilimento, un laboratorio su misura per me, come lo volevo io. Io ho fatto una scelta di tutte le strumentazioni, tutti i sistemi che ho imparato in giro, ho scelto i migliori, quelli con i quali mi trovavo meglio, e li ho riportati qua. Sì, il forno di rotazione è stato molto importante perché tutte queste attrezzature per l'industria casearia sono piuttosto costose, essendo attrezzature un po' di nicchia, diciamo. E alla fine l'investimento è stato abbastanza corposo e per una piccola azienda come noi è una spesa che mette un po' in difficoltà.
fronte di una domanda presentata a maggio-giugno dello scorso anno, se non ricordo male, nel giro di una decina di mesi l'azienda ha realizzato il suo investimento e noi abbiamo erogato i fondi. Per cui fondamentalmente questo ci consente di sostenere il territorio su questo tipo di attività. Un'azienda che beneficia e che usufruisce di un fondo di rotazione ha la possibilità di dilazionare nel tempo la restituzione dell'investimento. Di conseguenza può arrivare fino a 15 anni e quindi ha un impatto a livello di cassa e di esborso diciamo diluito nel tempo. E l'altro vantaggio, che è la cosa principale, è che ha un costo zero, cioè restituisce solamente il capitale che gli viene dato. Consente all'azienda che non ha certezza nei propri flussi di poter affrontare gli investimenti con maggiore tranquillità.
Questo investimento ci ha dato la possibilità di inserire un membro familiare nell'azienda, quindi garantirgli un futuro. Ci ha dato la possibilità di ampliare la nostra gamma di produzione, che non è solo latte, a questo punto è anche il prodotto finito, e ci ha permesso di chiudere un attimino il cerchio della nostra azienda. Molti miei familiari vedono questa continuità da parte dei miei figli con piacere, con orgoglio, ricordando spesso il nonno.
Everybody, welcome back, and hopefully you've seen the pieces of paper on your seats or nearby. So please do take a moment or two to fill out those forms with any suggestions, comments, things that you liked, didn't like, want to improve, etc. And that will, of course, be used as data points for the event management team to make the next event even better for you as well. So moving on, we've got 2 more panel discussions, and we would love you to be actively involved with them. And the first one, please welcome to the stage Agnieszka Sadowski and Isabella Zaniczak, who are the EAFRD Managing Authority of Poland. We have Yanis Danilidis, who's Head of Financial Instruments and Risk Management Tools Unit. Hello, ladies. Implementing Authority of Rural Development Interventions from the Ministry of Rural Development and Food in Greece. Nikolaos Dodoudis, who is Agri-Banking Strategist, Agricultural Banking at Piraeus Bank from Greece also. Hello. And Roberto Stasi, who is the Senior Loan Officer of Financial Institutions Department at the European Investment Bank Group. So thank you to all of you. And I think both of you ladies will start by giving us a presentation together. Thank you. You can do it from the seats, or you can do it from here, as you prefer. There is a clicker already there, I think. Thank you.
Dzień dobry wszystkim, szanowni państwo. Nazywam się
Good morning, everyone. Aneta Sadowska. I am together with Isa. We are representing the Ministry of Farming and Rural Development, the Department of Financial Instruments and Technical Help, and we are working on the design of financial instruments. Like we said yesterday, there is no generational renewal without access to capital. Therefore, access to capital for young farmers is not only an element of our politics, but this is also an investment in the future of European agriculture. I would like to present to you an instrument which is effectively supporting access to loans, and this is the Agriculture Guarantee Fund. We have a commercial name which is called Agromax, like yesterday the colleagues presented it to you. This fund is functioning thanks to the strategic plan element of CAP. This was something that functioned within the program of rural development. The main task of this fund is to offer access to funding by
guarantees securing loan repayment to farmers and entrepreneurs offering services to farmers and to the forestry sector and for the agri-food sector. In addition to guarantees, it is possible to get interest subsidies, which obviously is reducing the financing cost. And thanks to this, our fund takes over a part of the risk. Therefore, loans are more available on better terms. In order to understand the functioning of this instrument, it is worth talking about the role of different institutions. Yesterday, one of the colleagues has already presented it, so I will say in brief, the Ministry of Farming and Rural Development, as the managing authority of the strategic plan, is granting financing to make the instrument work and is also securing legal conditions. The Agency for Modernization and Restructuring of Agriculture is then managing this fund. Then the BGK Bank, this is the implementing authority implementing financial instruments and hands over the resources to repay the loans, and it also is managing interest subsidies. The next element are the crediting banks, who grant loans directly to beneficiaries, farmers, thanks to this guarantee FGR Plus and interest subsidy. The outcome of the cooperation of all those institutions is easier access to financing for farmers, processing entities, and all those who offer services to agriculture and forestry. The fund takes over a part of the credit risk, and therefore the credits and loans are more available. Another important element are the support conditions and the outcomes. The guarantee covers up to 80% of the investment loan or working capital loan connected to the investment loan. It is also possible to get a subsidy to repay part of interest. We have a very good solution for young farmers who can get 100% interest subsidies. It is worth paying attention to the fact that in the case of a young farmer, they can use up to even 100% for land purchase, whereas the remaining farmers can limit themselves only to 10% of the loan value. So as a result, we have some really good data showing that 88% of all loans granted within the strategic plan of CAP, these were loans granted to young farmers, and this shows that this instrument really corresponds to the needs of this group. The financial leverage is an important element of this instrument. €1 of public funding allows us to generate more than €6 of financing. And this shows that these resources are very well used. These results show us that this instrument effectively supports the development of farms as regards access to funding, especially as regards young farmers. I will now hand over to my colleague Isabella, who will show you some statistics.
Dzień dobry.
Good morning. Yes, we wanted to show you some data concerning the implementation of the fund from the previous perspective, based on the experience of the Rural Development Program. We consider it to be a success. All these amounts, all these numbers are really impressive. They're quite high. In the beginning, we allocated 50 million euros to this fund. However, there was big interest in it. So this allocation was increased several times up to the level of 267.5 million euros. Thanks to this, we managed to to have almost 35,000 contracts. We also had many beneficiaries who used the interest subsidy. The value of loans granted, it's more than 1.5 billion euros, and the value of the guarantee, 80%, 1.2 billion euros. The value of interest subsidies, it's more than 100 million euros. Not everyone, and not since the beginning, everyone took those interest rate subsidies. They were introduced 1 year after the launch of the instrument, which was launched in 2019. And later on, there was a separate instrument for in reply to problems concerning liquidity. And this was all connected with the COVID crisis. And thanks to those interest rate subsidies, there was much greater interest in this instrument, and thus those good results. We are now implementing the AGF Plus, 215 million euros allocated. This instrument has been implemented for 2 years now. At the end of May, we've had 1,500 contracts passed, 323 million euros, the value of those agreements, and value of guarantees 230 million, and interest rate subsidy 30 or so million euros. We wanted also to tell you what we plan next. We are not only implementing those funds and programs within RDP, we are already thinking of the allocation of funds that will be paid back from what we allocated between 2019 and 2025. Previously, when the funds returned from allocated funds, we were able to use them again for new agreements. It was so until 2025, and now we are waiting for those funds to be returned as consecutive loans will be reimbursed. And based on those funds, we'll be able to create a new instrument. This will be also a separate working capital loan with a guarantee and interest subsidy with preferential treatment for young farmers. We are also working on the new perspective on the budget after 2027. We are also planning on using financial instruments. We will continue doing so, and taking into account the identified needs of farmers. The purchase of land, the financing of land purchase will be the most interesting for them. Also, the purchase of animals for the farms that the farmers are running, with a preference for young farmers, obviously. We hope that this will be a good reaction to the needs that they signal to us.
Thank you both for laying out the wonderful plans there. And now we're moving on to Greece. So, Yanis.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Danielidis Ioannis. I am the head of the Financial Instruments and Risk Management Tools Unit in Greece. And I would like to start this presentation with the definition of the young farmer. I believe this is the same for all countries. According to our national legislation, a young farmer is a person up to 40 years old who is the head of an agricultural holding and has a minimum level of education or training. Generation renewal is one of the key challenges that European agriculture is facing. As we can see from the graph, Greece follows the overall European trend concerning the age distribution of farmers, but there are some figures that are particularly worrying for Greece. For example, the actual number of farmers has decreased over the last decade, let's say, of more than 15%. In addition, and most importantly, for every 17 farmers in Greece that are retiring, there is only one new farmer entering the sector. This is a very important ratio, and we believe that if this ratio will continue to be like this, the age distribution of farmers in Greece will deteriorate very fast. Even so, let us take a closer look at the profile of those relatively few young farmers who do enter the agricultural sector. First of all, we know that many young farmers will essentially take over the family business. This is standard procedure. For these farmers, of course, any financial instrument will not provide additional motivation for them to enter the agricultural sector. They have already decided that. But in any case, it is essential to create a viable and competitive farm. Another characteristic, not only for young farmers, but for all farmers in Greece, is that farms are generally small and fragmented. They are so small that economies of scale are difficult to achieve, and many holdings are only marginally viable. At the same time, young farmers are more willing to invest in innovation, digitalization, modernization, and organic farming compared to older farmers. But even though they have the will and they want to invest, they don't have the necessary funding for that. Finally, young farmers have the intention in Greece to increase their holding, mainly by purchase of land and by machinery. And also they have substantial working capital needs. For the financial instrument that I'm going to describe, working capital is not eligible, but young farmers can receive support for working capital through other financial instruments that we offer in Greece, with very favorable terms, of course. So, now, having examined the business profile of young farmers, now let's turn to their financial profile. Young farmers are new entrants to the sector. That means that they generally have no credit history. And because of the small size of their holdings, they often lack sufficient collateral. In Greece, approximately 1 out of 2 applications for support from young farmers is rejected. Moreover, many potential applicants do not even bother to apply for an application because they are afraid that they will be rejected. Now, traditional grant support for young farmers ranges, under the Greek CAP strategic plan, ranges from 30,000 euros up to 44,000 euros. However, young farmers believe that this amount of money is not sufficient for support. In fact, young farmers' organizations frequently refer to an acceptable amount, of 100,000 euros as a minimum acceptable amount for support for the initial investments. Now, based on our experience with financial instruments implemented under the Rural Development Programme, several conclusions emerged. First of all, farmers are often unfamiliar with banking procedures and IT systems for payment claims. Second, business plans prepared by professional advisors are usually better structured and more comprehensive. Third, the absence of collateral for the loans significantly improves access to finance for farmers. And finally, financial products offering favorable terms for support are very, very well appreciated by farmers. Based on these findings, we have designed a dedicated financial instrument only for young farmers entering the sector for the first time. This instrument will initially be implemented on a pilot basis with a total budget of 20 million euros, and it will allow us to assess the market response and introduce any necessary improvements. The product is a guaranteed instrument. It has a guarantee rate of 80% and the support rate and the cap rate of 25%. These parameters are increased compared to the standard financial instrument available to other farmers, which is designed with a 70% guarantee rate and a 20% cap rate. The increased guarantee and cap rates, of course, aim to encourage banks to provide financing under more favorable conditions. The loans of the financial instrument will range from 10,000 euros up to 50,000 euros. Each loan will be combined with a grant component, and the grant amount will correspond to 80% of the value of the loan. As a result, the total support available to young farmers will range from 18,000 euros up to 90,000 euros. Of course, in addition to that, we will apply technical support in order to help farmers. So, we will enable professional advisors to assist young farmers with the preparation of business plans, of bank applications, and all necessary administrative procedures. Now, several important design considerations were taken into account for the design of the financial instrument. For example, in the Greek CAP strategic plan, support for young farmers is foreseen through the traditional grant support. In this case, the time between the application for support and the approval can be quite long. It can even be up to 1 year. But at the same time, with financial instruments, this time is significantly shorter. The options we examined was, first of all, either to provide a loan to those young farmers who were approved for a grant, or to create a product that would combine a grant and a loan in a single operation. We chose the second option, so that the farmer will receive total support from a single point at the same time through one application and within a very short period of time, which is usually 2 to 3 months, compared with a 1 year for the application for the grant support or even more. There will not be any physical collateral at all for this financial instrument. The grant and the loan will be dispersed at the same time, and we will set a long repayment period up to 15 years with a guarantee potentially covering the entire repayment period, and we will also include a grace period of 2 years. Finally, regarding the implementation of the business plan, we have examined 2 options. First of all, the business plan sets targets in terms of the size of the holding, or it describes specific investments that must be implemented. In our case, we have chosen the second option, where the business plan should describe specific investment expenditure, which must then be verified in order for the support to be granted. I would like to thank you all very much for your time, and I remain at your disposal for any questions you may have. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Yannis.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for the invitation. It is a very great honor to be here today and yesterday. I would also like to say that we participated in the roundtable. It was really insightful, really inspiring, Since then, we were starting to discuss a lot of ideas. It sparked a lot of new things in our mind. So we continue with internal discussions in Piraeus Bank. I'm Nicolas Dedousis. I represent Piraeus Bank, agricultural banking division, as you see. I'm an agricultural economist responsible for the strategy for farmers. So, before starting, let me briefly position Piraeus Bank. We are a financial institution in Greece, leading financial institution in Greece. We're #1 in performing loans, and we also are #1 in deposits. We have a strong footprint in the agricultural sector, and we serve more than 700,000 farmers and agricultural clients. More of 120,000 of them, they are financed by our institution. And more specifically for young farmers, 11,000 of them, the past 3 years, have gotten business loans from Piraeus Bank, and disbursements were over 250 million euros. Banks should act, as we say down on the message, banks should act as a bridge between policy and real economy needs. At Piraeus Bank, we have 3 main focus areas. First and foremost, we focus on farmers, and we want them to grow through modernization and resilience. The second is agricultural cooperatives, and there we go for scale and competitiveness. And finally, public programs, there we go for implementation of business plans. In practice, our role is to connect capital with the real economy needs, and also to translate policy priorities and strategic priorities into real investments. And to the most important slide, we understand that generational renewal is critical for the sector. As Mr. Hansen said yesterday, young farmers are more innovative, and we all know it. They're more innovative, and Yannis also told it. They're more innovative, they're more sustainable. They try to implement things on their way. They have new ideas. They collaborate more. They try new technologies and digital tools. But also, as we have heard yesterday and today, they face big constraints, especially in the beginning. At Piraeus Bank, around 40% of our total disbursements in the agri-sector went to young farmers. This shows how important is this segment for Piraeus Bank. And this is a strategic decision for us. We want to invest in the future, in a more productive and more resilient future. So young farmers want a combination of solutions. As discussed previously, we offer for their beginning a specialized loan, investment loan, that often is linked with CAP support, and it can help them in the first phase, in the entry stage of their activities. Then, really important is to integrate with the value chain. So, for example, we use contract farming program in order to connect them and to build sustainable and stable relationships with the off-takers. On the left side, we see a modern tool that we have offered to not only to young farmers, but it is a loan scheme that automatically adjusts loan installments when prices fluctuate, prices in milk, as we started. And then it is really important to build relationships also with their primary agri-input suppliers. So we've built a working capital facility which is automated, and it works for them good. So the key message here is multiple tools aligned across the value chain. And as the young farmer said yesterday, become a farmer. Not yesterday, today.
Both days.
So, national and European programs. National and European programs are really important, and they are key drivers for investment in Greece, as in most European countries. So we use guarantees, we use interest rate subsidy, and also we use pre-financing in cooperation with the ministry, with Yannis here. And we believe that also pre-financing is really crucial for the sector. And finally, we believe that public funds, when combined with banking expertise and own capital, they can scale up investments, and also they can accelerate transformation of the sector. Here we have a snapshot of the use of financial instruments the last decade. Here we can see that we have channeled more than 435 million euros through all available financial instruments. We have used COSME for farmers. We have used COSME, Pan-European, EASY, InvestEU, and programs from the Hellenic Development Bank. And we have channeled more than 435 million euros to more than 10,000 farmers and customers. Three of our most effective instruments you can see here. Mr. Bonnet, if I'm saying correct the name, he spoke about the first one, EAFRD guarantee. It is a guarantee scheme. It started at 2021, and at the latest stage, we added it was added the interest rate subsidy 5% for 5 years. Here, the key lesson is that guarantee really helps when collaterals are limited, so it is ideal for young farmers, as discussed yesterday with two young farmers who were asking. In almost 90% of the cases that we have issued the loan, we didn't ask for any other collateral than the guarantee. So I think it works really well. Another question yesterday was if there are financial instruments for small farmers. Here in the middle, you see the microloan. So here the key lesson is that size-appropriate finance is really important for small farmers. And finally, the EIF InvestEU, agri, specialized for agri customers. Here we have the simplicity, simple procedures, simple product, easy for the farmer, and this is how things can scale up. And going into conclusions, here we can see blended finance in practice and what we see as constraints and as success drivers. On the left, main key challenges are lack of financial literacy, lack of financial track record and own capital, especially for young farmers. As we all discussed, high upfront costs for investment. One thing that is very important is timing mismatch between grants, financial instruments, and loans and bank loans. And finally, complexity is a real burden for farmers and for banks. And let's go to the positive now. We believe that by guarantees, we improve bankability of the farmers, and especially young farmers. Where is the question? Advisory really improves the quality of the business plan and the implementation stage. Liquidity gives access to liquidity helps the implementation of the investment. And finally, one good spot that also Yannis spoke about it, we see an increased willingness from farmers, and especially young farmers, to engage with financing, and this is really important for us. And finally, for the way forward, we believe that financial instruments should take into consideration agriculture, how agriculture works. So we believe that repayments should be linked to price volatility and also cash flows. Here we say pay as you grow. Maybe for young farmers is an important feature. Also, sustainability issues should be included. And finally, some key enablers. The dedicated loan for young farmers that is going to be used in Greece, we think is a very good idea. Standalone working capital to cover operational needs of farmers is very important. Integration of risk management tools, like insurances. Advisory role, like the technical assistance already mentioned by Yanis, but also banks should add their knowledge to this flow of information. And finally, one-stop shop approach, as Yanis told for the last financial instrument. There is one stop, one way to collect data, one way to collect not different deadlines, not different documentation. It's really important for the use of financial instruments. And that is for me.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Roberto Stasi. I'm part of the EIB, I'm in the front office of the bank, covering the banking sector in Italy and Croatia. I'm incidentally also responsible for the agri subjects in my department, so I'm very happy to join you. I will give you a very brief presentation about what EIB does in the agriculture and also food industry, supply chain of the agri, what we call also bioeconomy. If we look at the way we work, you have already received some inputs from also the gentleman from Piraeus or my colleague from EIF. We provide liquidity. We provide liquidity to different sectors. In this case, for the agriculture, we provide liquidity to the agri-industry. We don't have branches as a normal bank, so we use banks to distribute our liquidity. So we lend to banks, to commercial banks in all the EU member states, in order to intercept farmers, SMEs and mid-cap from these sectors. We provide lending at a very discounted rate because we go to the market and we borrow money from the market, leveraging on our high level of creditworthiness. And when we lend money, we also ask the banks that are receiving this discount to pass this discount to the final beneficiaries, to the farmers or the companies or the businesses that are using our liquidity. Together with this, we try also to provide some, let's say, a final package, and we also have the advisory, which is a sort of support, actually is a support, is a knowledge transfer, which is implemented in all countries through external consultancy. We have the capacity also to tailor-made sometimes the topics that we want to deepen together with the banks, but also with the industries. The IB doesn't provide the guarantees directly. The IF is more capable than us, working on mandates from the Commission to go into very capillary level of SMEs. We provide guarantees more towards big groups, especially in the food industry or the large companies that are also working in the agri sector. We are also, we are not a static organization, as you might understand. So we also try to within the framework we work in, we try to also explore possibility of combining national instruments or European instruments together with our, let's say, core business, which is the lending. So we are also exploring the possibility of having grants. It's something that we have done in other industries. We have done especially on the manufacturing, on SMEs and mid-cap, with the support of regions, for instance in Italy, where we have funds from regions that are rebating the level of interest when we lend to banks and the banks lend to SMEs. It's something that can be explored also in agriculture, especially for the target of young farmers, for the possibility of, in these 2 days we have seen that the most important topic is keep the cost of funding low, give us access to the land. So especially on this sector, probably together with the regions, but also with the national promotional banks in each state and the ministries, we can probably think about of a combination of our funding with the grants. Just to say more about 2 years ago, I have to say we anticipated some of the topics we have been discussing in these 2 days. And we have deployed a pan-European agricultural program, a lending envelope, 3 billion of liquidity, to be distributed through the financial sectors. 1.5 billion have been already signed and distributed, mainly in Italy, Greece, France, and Spain. We have enlarged, I have to say, the criteria of eligibilities. We were not able to support young farmers in the past with the purchase of land, which is something that we have been doing over the last 3 years now. We are able to support young farmers also in the succession and to foster the entrance of new farmers. This lending envelope has also a strong commitment on sustainability, regenerative agriculture, adaptation, which are, especially for young farmers, are topics that are very sensitive, especially when we see a high level of impact of the climate change, and also the interest for young farmers to anticipate the risks and to plan their income stability. If I look at the main criteria, we have tried to stretch also the tenors of maturity of our lending that was always very conservative, I have to say, I have to admit, but we have been able to go to 15 years with the 2 years of grace period. And we have also given the possibility of combining this lending envelope with, because it's made on our resources, with the national initiatives. We can finance investment purpose project, but also we can finance working capital. Working capital has been mentioned many times. Liquidity is the fuel for any company. The circulation of liquidity in a company is the blood for the company to stay alive, and this is something that we are able to support. We have also, here you can see a list of eligible products, but I have to say, in agriculture, we have simplified quite a lot our eligibility criteria. The use of NACE code in this sector is making already any type of activity towards the companies belonging to the NACE code eligible to us. I will talk about this later when we speak about the role of the
You might as well talk about it now because we're running a little late, so we might go directly to questions. So do take time now.
No, we have been talking about the role of banks. I think the financial market and the banking industry has to take a huge responsibility as well, a huge commitment towards agriculture. Agriculture is not only producing food or breed animals, but is also ensuring citizen food security, management of the land, sustainability of our geographies, and so on. So there is a huge burden on farmers. I can understand this. It's not only. I think it's a complex job nowadays, and I'm happy that, especially the young farmers, have a level of knowledge and of self-awareness that is much higher than in the past. But we see some resistance from the banking sector in engaging in this sector, in reducing also the risk mitigants or the risk requirements that they have. So, and we have seen also, because of the consolidation on the market we are experiencing in several banking industries in Europe, we have seen that the agriculture sector has become like a second best or less interest. And we have seen also that the concentration of in big groups makes especially peripheral areas of our countries, especially internal areas, less served by financial services. And this is something that in Italy we experience quite a lot. And 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, we have, within this lending envelope, I have engaged with a bank that that now unfortunately has been acquired by another big banks, which proves our worries since the beginning. So we have engaged with the bank, very active in the valleys in North Italy, and very active in agriculture, to work without other banks, not part of the same group, but spread all over Italy, from the south, the center, and to the north. And we have asked this bank to take the responsibility of being a leading bank in borrowing money from EIB and distributing this money through some sub-lending to these small banks, and to be able to reach counterparties, banks that we don't normally work. And we have dedicated this instrument totally to agri-food, bioeconomy, and also with a large component of green elements, especially on biogas, solar panels, regenerative agriculture. And we have been able to target several regions, especially the regions of the South Italy, cohesion regions, with the 30% at least of the loan amount. After 1 year and a half, the lending envelope has been, the financing of 150 million has been almost fully utilized. So even the small banks have been able to access to EIB liquidity, which was something they probably never experienced before, with the support of advisory, with the support of the leading bank. So I think the message is there should be a commitment from the banking sector also to support, in terms of responsibility towards the country where they reside, to support also small banks in being able to continue to serve the client. Also to be able to provide cheaper funding, simpler funding, because sometimes the small banks are also constrained by regulation, by capital requirements that sometimes it's very hard to accomplish. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes? I'm going to open the floor directly for questions. We've got about 9 minutes for questions from the, yes, hand directly at the back. And do keep your hands up so that the hosts know where to go with the microphone. Thank you very much. And if you stand up, it's even easier for them actually to get to you more quickly so that we can maximize the time we have. Thank you.
Antoni Olszewski, student Uniwersytetu Przyrodniczego w Poznaniu.
I am studying farming, Antoni Olszewski. A question on liquidity loans, the ones that are granted in the beginning of this journey of young farmers. This is a very capital incentive industry. You have to spend a lot on everything. My question to Madam Sadowska from the ministry, such a dedicated credit line, is it planned in the new perspective? Thank you so much.
It's on already.
Tak. Jeżeli chodzi
Yes, as regards a working capital loan, it is planned not only in the new perspective after 2027, but already now we want to launch at the end of this year autonomous working capital loans from disbursed funds from different financial instruments within the rural development scheme. This is how we plan, and yes, we do plan to have it.
Would you like to add to that? Any other questions from the floor? Yes?
Dawid Królikowski.
Dawid Królikowski. I'm also a farmer, and I will have a question. We have heard that maybe in the new financial perspective, there will be not only interest subsidies, but for capital for young farmers as well. Is it where the works in the ministry are going? And I'm a fruit grower, by the way. As far as the new perspective is concerned, we are working on a specific product. We do take into account capital subsidy. There will be guarantees, there will be interest subsidies for sure, and we're also considering capital subsidies as well, yes.
It should be on already.
Możliwe też, że będzie to...
It is possible that we may have maybe redemption of those debts, the previous debts, but this is being still considered.
Yes.
Petra Nováková, Ministerstvo financí of the Czech Republic. I would like to ask the managing authority of Poland what is the role of the paying authority in the paying agency, sorry, in the implementing system.
The implementing authority for financial instrument is our bank BGK, and this is the bank BGK who is selecting entities, that is the banks that are granting loans.
You are brilliantly concise with your answers. They're actually shorter than the questions sometimes. Any further questions from the floor? Nothing at all. Well, I might just ask one or two questions then. It seems that everybody is moving to you two ladies, actually. But any feedback from what you've reflected on over the last 2 days? I'm going to the Greek consortium that we have here. I mean, one of the things that we've learned is every country has its own specific issues and considerations. So just maybe reflect on what you've heard over the last 2 days and anything that you think you can give back, because one of the learning mechanisms is the templates of things that work, or your reflections of the last 2 days.
For us, young farmers, first of all, it was very good to hear from a lot of young farmers themselves, to receive feedback and knowledge from them. And I understand that in most cases, the need for finance is the same, more or less. I understand that if we solved for our instrument, if we solved the basic idea that is the access to finance, then we can let the farmer or the advisor to decide which way they will go. We heard a lot of things about the lack of collateral. We heard a lot of things about the technical support the farmers need. We consider the instrument as the vehicle, and we believe that every farmer should spot the needs that he has, because we saw that organic farming, digitalization, modernization, every aspect of finance was discussed here. So we do not want to make an instrument that is designed for specific purposes. We make an instrument, a flat, horizontal financial instrument, and we let every final recipient, with the assistance of the professional advisor, to decide which way they want to go.
Yeah, and then I just want to reflect again, staying with Greece and also Italy, because you brought up southern Italy, Roberto. There are so many considerations here, and one we haven't leaned on too much, but perhaps it comes under the envelope of sustainability and also the need for innovation, is climate change and how that is affecting the land everywhere, but notably in Greece and southern Italy.
For instance, in Italy, we have a huge difference between north and south, even in terms of climate impact, but also the climate impact is getting in northern areas or any type of altitude as well. But we have a dichotomy in terms of coverage as well against climate risk. And overall, Italy is one of the countries where farmers are the least covered by insurances against climate risk. Although we have incentives, although we have support from the state. This is something that probably, and this calls again the responsibility as well of the capital market on the financial industry in general. So how we support farmers that are the first line of defense towards climate risk, how we are supporting them to get decent, in terms of cost, insurances, sustainable insurances, and long-term insurances. This is something that I'm personally working on, try to even think about what are the mechanisms of incentives together with our funding vis-à-vis the banks and the possibility of including insurances. But I think the idea is really to create an ecosystem that takes the problem of climate change at the center and try to put together in our organic way, and everyone has to make his own part also financially, so everyone has to put some money on the table to be able to create an ecosystem of incentive that has a purpose, the support to farmers, to guarantee to them that they can continue to have stability in terms of income, but also support them in the fight against climate change. And I think farmers are really sensitive to this. We're speaking just 2 minutes before with the farmers that presented the Prosecco. They know exactly on their skin that climate change is impacting their business, it's impacting their families, impacting their plants and their animals. So the idea is really to make sure that all the incentives are together, all the parties are involved, and there is also sustainability on the financial instrument that we are going to propose. Because if it's in the past we have given grants without thinking about the future, the possibility that grants in financial instruments can go through generations, this is another aspect that we have to think about.
Thank you very much. A quick comment, because I need to move on, because some people have to travel home, I think.
A very quick comment. We know that we understood yesterday and today that financial instruments are available. We need to better inform the farmers. And
is it on? It's on now.
Okay. So financial instruments are available, as we understand from yesterday and today's discussions. The thing is that we need to better inform farmers that they will understand their needs and help them find their way to the banks. And EIB is doing a great job on this.
Oh, well, I'm sure they'll be delighted if I end the panel on that lovely thought and comment. Thank you very much. I love these marvelous unplanned segues. They make my job so much easier. Thank you very, very much indeed. Final panel of what has been a wonderful two-day conference, and I'm going to invite to the stage to talk about advisory and technical assistance and access to finance for young farmers. Kasia Petman, Senior Specialist Agriculture and Fisheries Industry Department from the Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry in Finland. Please welcome Kasia to the stage. Thank you very much, Kasia. We have Casper Hol, Rabobank from the Netherlands. I know we had a question, I think, from you yesterday. Thank you very much. And we have Bruno Robino, who is Deputy Head Advisory Financial Institutions Division at the European Investment Bank Group. So thank you very much, all three of you. We're going to go directly to questions. I don't believe we have any presentations. I'm just checking, but we're going to go directly to questions. And do feel free, since it's the last panel and you're amongst friends now, to throw up your hands at any point, and I will try to keep an eye out for any questions coming at us. Feel free, very open. And yes, it is being recorded, but that's okay. It's only going to be shared amongst ourselves. Kasia, would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, thank you. And thank you for inviting us here today. And thank you for a very good two-day session and great discussions. I work as a senior specialist at the Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry in Finland. And I work within the subjects regarding investment aids and generational renewal, young farmers, also advisory services and non-productive investments also.
I'm just going to lean on the fact that just momentarily fisheries are part of this. And so how do you think about the fisheries and the farming combined? What is the split there for your workload?
Actually, we have just had an organizational change in our ministry, and now we have the fisheries in the same department. And well, it's quite new for me at the moment, the fisheries stuff. So I don't know that much about them. But I know that in the fisheries section, they have been working on financial instruments like for past 3 years, I think.
And so there might be some good templating of systems and schemes that might move over towards the agricultural section.
Yes, yes.
Thank you very much.
Hello, good afternoon, or good morning, I guess. Let's say good afternoon. My name is Casper Hol. I work at Rabobank. I don't have any slides on Rabobank, but you can Google us if you don't know us. We are a big cooperative bank. Globally on F&A, but in the Netherlands we are also a market leader in financing individual farmers. My role is I'm dealing with the transition of the food system, long-term strategy, and we think about new products that might help our clients, be them farmers, but also larger companies in the food chain to help make the transition become reality.
And what do you mean by transition of the food system?
So what we have established, and if you Google Rabobank, you might as well Google our Agri-Food Vision 2040. We believe, as many, luckily, that a transition in the food system is necessary in order to ensure a future-proof and sustainable food system for food security, but also especially for nature and ecological reasons. Especially in the Netherlands, we have exceeded the boundaries, the ecological boundaries that our country can handle. So we need a transition towards a future-proof food system, and we have a role to play as the largest agricultural bank in the Netherlands, and we take that role very seriously.
Thank you. Bruno.
Dzień dobry. So my name is Bruno Rubino. I'm part of the team behind this event, following a number of advisory platforms, among others, FICOMPAS.
That's a very short introduction, Bruno.
Short and sweet.
Always, always. Kasia, so I want you to just enhance a little bit more about what's happening in Finland with generation renewal.
Well, regarding generational renewal in Finland, in this CAP period, we have had just over 1,000 farm successions made. And to put this in context, it may sound like a small number, but Finland is a small country and we have only just about 40,000 farms in Finland. And last year we had 350 farm successions made, and the number has been increasing a little bit every year. And I think that the number of under 40-year-old farmers in Finland is, or the share is about 15% at the time. And the number of over 65-year-old farmers, it's about 20% in Finland. So there is a lot of variation between areas because there are some areas in Finland that are more active in agriculture, so the farm successions are also made more in those areas. And well, it's clear that we need more new and more young farmers, but I think that regarding the number of the farmers that are over 65 years old, there will be in upcoming years, maybe there will be more of, if you can say, supply for the young and new farmers because they will be quitting someday. And also there is like approximately 1,000 farms that are quitting every year, and like 300 or 350 new farmers are coming to the field. So there is a supply also for the new farmers. And what comes to our subject, the financing the new farmers, it's of course it's really important. And I think that in the future, when there are more farms that are quitting, we need financing for those farms that are new or that are developing and maybe expanding. They need finances also. But I think that one of the things that hasn't been spoken a lot about here in these 2 days is the profitability. And I think that that is the main question when it comes to new farmers and generational renewal. We need profitable farms. The business needs to be successful financially, and the overall attractiveness of agriculture is really important also. And I think that that is also the thing that challenges the financing also. If it's not profitable, then the bank maybe doesn't get involved with it. At least that is the message that we get from our banks, is that every project, whether it is investment or farm succession, if it's profitable, there is no problem with financing. But if it's not profitable, then comes the issues. I'm sure it's not that black and white and not so straight, but I want to bring up the profitability also in the discussion.
Well, you're absolutely right. That is a word that we haven't raised too much in the last couple of days. It's been there, but very much in the back of the conversation. So we heard Helen from Estonia, and she spoke about strong mentorship, community building, confidence building with financial literacy and business development models in close communities. Do you think that's something that you are doing in Finland or could do in Finland?
Well, in Finland, I think that we have quite strong advisory services, and there is a lot of help for farmers when we are thinking about the financial literacy and everything, considering that. And when it comes to like farm successions, I would say that none of the supported farm successions are made without help from outside. I think that it could be strengthened also because there is a lot of like advisory services at least are very much involved when we are planning to do the farm succession or the generational renewal, but there is also need for that afterwards, and when the farm is developing and maybe expanding and trying to get the business out of it, then it's of course it's really important. And I think that this is something that we have also seen, that the financial literacy and things related to that are really important, and the farmers we should increase the knowledge on the subject.
And so then when it comes to the younger generation, for generational renewal coming in to farming and hopefully succeeding, because at the moment I'm looking at the figures that you said, and they're not going to replicate in terms of percentages at the moment. What are the stumbling blocks? Attractiveness is one. Are farms profitable enough? Is it too hard?
Well, I think that you just answered the question. It's the attractiveness, of course, it's the profitability. In Finland, we have also a lot of part-time farmers, like myself. I'm also a part-time farmer. And also, I think that it's a lot about the attractiveness also. And well, we have talked a lot about the access to land. I think that in Finland, well, in certain areas that is also a problem, and the access to like a suitable farm. We have young people who are eager to start a farm, but they don't have a family farm or something. So we should be able to encourage and support more the farm succession between complete strangers, as you can say. Of course, then it's also always a little bit more expensive, because within a family it's easier, and maybe you don't get the market price there. And also, I think that with the elder farmers, it would be really important. In Finland, we have this kind of system where you can make it gradually, the generational renewal, that the older and the younger are together there, but that needs to have like a very clear rules how it's done, and this is also something that we would need to have from the Commission, also clear rules what is considered as head of the holding, because in Finland we have a system for this, but we have had a little bit issues with that with the Commission also.
Well, Kirsten did mention about intergenerational conversations this morning. So turning to Rabobank, firstly, paint us a picture of the young farmers' situation in the Netherlands, and then how your holistic approach and your financial instruments are helping them.
Yeah, thank you. So first of all, underlining 2 points that my neighbor made on attractiveness. If you're a young farmer in the Netherlands right now, you have to deal with negative public opinion. And that's because there's been a lot of attention on the negative side effects of farming, be it from animal welfare issues, be it from emissions, be it from being from the backward countryside. I don't know, the Netherlands is a small country, but we still have those discussions, whether you're from the west, where the big cities are, or from the east, north or south, where it's more rural. So there's generally in the Dutch population not a positive opinion of farming and farmers' product. So the storytelling, the narrative, and I think it was underlined yesterday by Leonard, I think, is very important, because farmers are not producers of the food necessarily only. They take care of the landscape. They ensure food security for the long term. They can take care of the nature and the surrounding environment. They can take care of social communities. So the broad value added of farming is not taken into account by the public opinion. But, and that's my second point, which goes to the profitability point, which is essential, it is also not taken into account by the markets. So the food price does not reflect the value added that the farmer has added to society, especially if this is produced in a way which is future-proof and sustainable. And there lies for us, and that's what we wrote down in our vision for 2040, one of the main solutions to come up with a future-proof food system. It's to base the whole value system on the true value of the products of the farmer, basically, which can be the products, but which can also be taking care of the environment, increasing biodiversity, water quality, soil health, etc. Okay, might be different topics, so we'll not expand on that for here, but I think it's important to underline. if you're a Dutch farmer, a young farmer...
I'm sorry to interrupt you. It's not... it was Leonard who said that this morning. It might feel like yesterday. It was actually this morning he said it. But I mean, we touched on the point. Is it possible to bring that into a financial instrument somehow?
Sure, it's possible. I mean, we're already doing it. It's happening everywhere on a small scale. Examples are if you're a dairy farmer and you take care of nature areas, you get an extra 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 cents per kilo from your corporation, and it's then labeled so the consumer pays for it. Governments pay for it, local, national and European level when as the farmer takes care of nature. More and more financial and investment firms want nature on their balance sheet, and they try to come up with schemes to pay for that. We all know the specific labeling that involves extra payments for the farmer if they meet certain criteria. So yes, it's possible. What we need is a common language on this at a European level. So the whole benchmarking initiative from the European Commission, from EIB is very, very welcome. Again, probably not a topic to really fully discuss here. The last time, 2 months ago or 3 months ago, when we had this meeting, we were talking with the bankings and the young farmers. Now we have policymakers. I think the next iteration it would be very good to have the ecosystem here of the food chain. So the big food companies, the suppliers, and the industry to talk about the full ecosystem to take this into account. I wanted to make one more point about being a young farmer in the Netherlands. So on average, a Dutch farm has a balance sheet of 4 or 5 million. With a debt of almost 1 million, so very solvent, 80% solvency. You don't see that in many economic sectors, but a very high barrier to entry because it's very high asset rich but cash poor. So if you want to start out of the nothing and say, I want to become a farmer in the Netherlands, that's not possible. It's just not going to happen. You cannot buy 40 or 50 acres of grassland and then start a dairy farm. That's not happening. I just checked the statistics. We just sold recently, somebody sold 1 acre of arable farming for seed potatoes for 230,000 euros. So for 1 acre. So that's not going to happen. So we talk about regenerational renewal. It's really about how do we ensure that this young generation gradually grows into the farm of the family. It's usually within the family, and then things are possible. And we've heard already some schemes today how that works. You gradually become part of the joint company. In the end, for banks, that's not so complicated, to be honest. And we don't look at age, for example. So a young farmer for us is just a farmer. So age is not, we don't finance based on your age, we finance based on the business plan of the company. Of course, there's a track record, but the land has been there for years. So it can also be the track record of the uncle or the father or the older brother, doesn't really matter. So we need to trust the business plan, we need to look at sustainability, future-proof, permits, all those things are very important. And then in the end, is there a structural long-term cash flow that can support this business? If that's not there, there's no financing discussion. If that's there, then we will make it happen. So I think that's the bottom line that we face in the Netherlands. Yeah.
I personally like the idea that age is irrelevant. That's a nice thing for me to hear. However, I want to just lean on the fact that you've given us a price for one, it wasn't even a hectare, was it? Which is a lot of money. And the fact that a lot of land continues to lie with family. So succession is there, land goes to family. So how easy is it in the Netherlands for a young farmer who just wants to become a farmer to become a farmer?
So if
without land?
Yeah, that's really difficult. That there's a huge barrier to entry. If you don't have a position where you either own or your family owns land, or where you have long-standing contracts to lease land, which is quite often the easier way in, then it's quite difficult. At the same time, there are possibilities. So there are land lease possibilities, as we've heard earlier on. Those exist in the Netherlands. There's a huge system of land lease, which with relatively low prices, which would allow, if the land is available, somebody to enter into the market. We don't see it happening a lot in practice. So like many countries, we see an overall decline in the number of farmers and number of farms. So yes, the increase of the percentage of young farmers in the Netherlands has increased in the last years, but that's not because of a lot of entries, but that's because older farmers stop and there's consolidation. So we're going to have less farms, or we're going to have bigger farms. So we don't see a lot of young farmers who don't have a family or don't have land enter into the market.
Do you see that as a problem?
It's almost a given the situation in the Netherlands. So it's really not for me to say. I think it's a policy issue. So personally, I could have an opinion on it. I don't think it's, in a way, a right for somebody who wants to become a farmer to be able to. It's like, it's not for everybody to start a car factory. It's very capital intensive. You cannot start one in your barn. So to some extent, some of the part of the farming in the Netherlands has become that. It's very capital intensive. So it's not. It makes sense that you cannot just start it. So I don't think it's systemically a problem. It is a problem if the generational renewal does not take place, because we still need our landscape to be taken care of, our animals to be taken care of. We need the food to be produced, and we need the strong local communities in the rural areas. So if there's no longer enough people to take care of that, then there's a problem. I don't think we're there.
Thank you. Bruno, you've heard so much over the last 2 days. Now, your role here is to tell us all about the support of FiCampus and who can benefit from it, the instruments.
Okay, so indeed we heard a lot about FiCampus, sorry, and just maybe in a few words, because I can stay here maybe all the afternoon to speak about FiCampus. FiCampus is a platform which provide orientation, guidance, and advice on the use of financial instruments, on the share management, which means cohesion funds, but also the financial instruments under EIFRD. Who's the main target? Well, managing authorities. Would that be at national level, but also regional level? We also have, as a target group, paying agencies, which is relevant for EIFRD, national promotional banks, financial intermediaries, and also, I would say, indirectly, what we call final recipients, final beneficiaries. Who are these? Farmers, agri-holding, young farmers, new entrants, and, for example, the conference of today is dedicated to one of the subsectors of final recipients, I would say, young farmers. What is FiCampus? Again, in essence, in a few words, FiCampus is about the production of documents, guidance material. We are talking about fact sheets, we are talking about manuals, we are talking about case studies, we are talking about videos, and in general, example of good practice. By the way, a number of these documents are on the table outside. I'll come to that, but they are available there. FiCampus is also about training. It's also about training on the different forms, so online trainings, but also in-person trainings. In this category, one of the most, I would say, successful products relevant to EIFRD managing authorities is the so-called targeted coaching, which is basically a session with the personnel of the EIFRD managing authorities. It varies from 6 to 8 hours of training, and the peculiarity is it's a closed door meeting, so personnel can ask all the questions they want in connection with financial instruments, and it's more to reassure and to provide support to the managing authority or to the personnel of the managing authority, which at some point in time they will have to convince the upper level. So this is, I would say, quite popular between EIFRD managing authorities. By the way, I can say that Cascio benefited from these services, so this is also, and we were very happy to provide the targeted coaching also to managing authority in Finland. FiCampus is also about events like this, different formats. We would regard this as a large events for us, but for example, during the pandemic, we shifted into online events, and now we are back, I would say, to a certain level of normality with these kind of events where you can exchange among the actors. And finally, all this is bundled together in a web page. I would call it a single knowledge hub, where you can find all this information, I would say, in a structured way, rather systematic, and always updated. And this is meant to help and support all actors involved, mainly managing authorities, in their day-to-day work.
And I know you have one slide.
Yes, but before going into the slide, I would also like to say that we do provide support to financial intermediaries through another mandate, InvestEU Advisory Hub. And the support is, well, it's nice to have financial instruments, but we also have to make sure that they are enacted, that they are designed, and they are in line with green transition objectives. So this is not part of the compass, as I said, but the idea is to understand if a project is compatible with green transition. So, for example, it's when it comes to climate resilience, energy efficiency, water management, circular bioeconomy. So in order to do that, we set up, I would say, a program, which is the Green Gate program, and which has several items inside, so tools. We have also their elements of capacity building, would that be trainings, a help desk, but also guidance material. And we do provide also bilateral support to financial intermediaries on the green transitions. One of the most important tools of the Green Gateway program is the so-called Green Checker. I guess in the room, a number of people have been familiar with the Green Checker, which is an IT tool which is free of charge. And the idea of the Green Checker is to understand if a project or a financial operation is considered green when it comes to, for example, climate action contribution, environmental sustainability, alignment with EU taxonomy. So it's a fairly practical tool for bringers of projects and also for the financial intermediaries to assess fairly quickly how green is the project and if it's compatible with the elements and the standards which are required. And I'll stop here on the general. Yes, indeed, there is a slide, so I will ask to. Thank you for that. So this is maybe it's to focus a bit more on the young farmers, so in the context of the generational renewal. We heard several times during these days that young farmers do not need just grants, but they need solution. They need maybe access to tailored finance solutions and affordable finance. So in this respect, we put together, even and focusing on young farmers' need, an advisory support package which has several elements. First of all, physical events. Then we put together a data collection and a consultation with the sectors. And finally, we develop some guidance materials. I'll come to that. In terms of physical events, it was vaguely mentioned today. So we had a series, actually, 2 round tables that was last March in Brussels, where specialized financial intermediaries, and I'm talking about banks, but also guarantors, providers of guarantee. I'm also thinking about microfinance providers. They were also representative of crowding platforms, which came together and discussed with representative of young farmers organization, representative of DG Agri, experts of the European Investment Bank Group, to understand and to have an idea what are the needs and what are the possibilities in the sector. I would regard also the conference of today as part of the package of the physical events. All this was, and in parallel, we carry out a collection of data and a consultation mainly with financial intermediaries, financial institutions. We gathered the opinion and interacted with some 27 financial institutions across Europe. The idea was to understand what is relevant for them when it comes to finance for young farmers, understand the investment needs, understand the loan demand, understand the collateral requirements, and also other features like repayment capacity, but also the perception of risk and how you could de-risk the operation. All this, so the physical events, the data collection and the consultation with the financial intermediary ended up or allowed us to put together and to elaborate some documents. And these are the ones which are on the slides. So we came up with a first document which is has the title Insights, Access to Finance for Young and New Farmers. And this is a synthesis of the discussion, of the takeaways of this consultation process. It includes insights for policymakers, for EIFRD managing authorities, for financial institutions, and also the idea is to highlight which are the best financial institutions, what are the risk mechanism or the de-risk mechanism, and also what are possibilities for advisory support. So you might see that the three documents look the same. So apart from the title, which is different, you have a different pictogram, which is a bulb. I have it here. By the way, the first three documents are available. I assume there are still some copies available. The second one is called CAP Financial Instruments and Lending Scheme for Young Farmers in the EU, and shows how well-designed schemes, well-designed financial instruments, and we are talking from the debt side, so we are talking about guarantees and risk-sharing loans, can support and can help farmers to overcome certain of their barriers which we heard today. Purchase of land, lack of collateral, lack of credit history, and also exposure to a certain volatility in the income, particularly in the first years. And this is the second document. The pictogram here is the target. There is a third document which we put together, which is Access to Finance for EU Young Farmers. And this is more a survey to young farmers. And the idea there is to grasp and to capture the needs of the farmers. What are their funding needs? What are possible lending outcomes? And what are, from their point of view, the lending barriers? Third one, as I said, different pictograms. So we are talking here about, we are having a magnifier glass. So this is important because picture looks the same, title is different, and pictogram is different. But it's not finished. I'm coming to the end.
No, okay.
Just cover very quickly. So all this, we put together also a number of case studies because, of course, we interacted with some of them. And you can see these cards on the tables. This represents 17 real case studies of farmers which succeeded to access finance. Would that be through ERDF money, InvestEU money, or national scheme? Very interesting story, very inspiring. And last but not least, it was mentioned today, there is a need also to support farmers or young farmers in the business plan. So we put together a practical tool, how to prepare a business plan. The last two documents are online, and the access to the last two documents is available. The link is Improving Access to Finance for Young Farmers, Fee Compass. And I'll stop here.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm going to take a breath. Rabobank. I mean, what I'm hearing, there's so much information out there from many, many different sides, and it is a really complex picture. You're dealing with conversations directly with young farmers. Where do they go for information? Because there is so much coming at them. They're already busy trying to do the job, fill in the paperwork. We heard that numerous times today. Find the information, find the financing, build the community. It's a real pull on time. How do you support people?
Yeah, so that's a good question in the current time and age, the complete overflow of information in general. One of the programs that we've developed together with the Dutch Association of Young Farmers. So we sat down with the Young Farmers Association and asked the question, okay, if you want to succeed your parents, for example, and to take over the farm, what kind of skills and information would be useful to gather? And we came up with a sort of a training plan, which starts a couple of years before the actual takeover. We do that not only, so our financial experts are involved because it also really is about business financing. But it starts with a very personal, we use an external company for that, personal leadership skill tests, like what is your drive, what do you want to achieve? It involves family talks. It's a lot about the social and the family relations, such a takeover. So early on you include everybody in the family to have this discussion, okay, what is the future of this company and what is everybody's role in this? And that's not all bank work, right? So we're not involved in all those talks. We facilitate it. We pay for it, but not fully, because we let the client pay as well, because then they need to be involved. So yes, we give them a discount, but still they need to pay also part of it themselves. And this is a scheme that goes up until the moment of the actual takeover, which usually is a very long process. It's not like a one-off buyout moment, but it's sort of a long, complicated process which needs also external advisors. Also, I always say, if a farmer only talks to his bank for his business directions, I don't think that's a very good sign. So you really, there's some very good independent advisors out there for the agricultural sector, which they can use, which they can also buy, and sometimes they get discounts from us or from the government to get the advice. And in the end, if we look at it from a financing point of view, of course we need a solid business plan with a long-term view on how the cash flow and how the capacity to repay the debt will look like, and we need that. And we're not the ones writing it because we're the bank, so the entrepreneur has to write that with this whole ecosystem of support. Yeah.
Thank you. And Kasia, when it comes to Finland, your conversations are not directly always to the farmers, but managing authorities obviously play a huge part in that flow of conversation, and ultimately how the financing, in whatever form it takes, is dispersed. And so what type of, well, perhaps training do the managing authorities need in Finland?
Well, I think that we have this network that is, we as a managing authority, we are not doing so much the trainings, but we have this network which we use for all kinds of trainings. And I think that for us, we have quite strong advisory services in Finland, and it's the advisory services that provide the information also to the farmers and the final recipients. And I think that it's pretty much for them. And well, of course, we have the support for advisory systems, and I think that it's about 1/3 of the support that we have paid from CAP to advisory services that has gone to business plans or planning investments and to financial support for the farmers.
And just before I open up the floor to some questions, is there anything else you'd like to add about the situation in Finland and also the EAFRD financial instruments?
Well, I can say that currently we don't have any EAFRD financial instruments in Finland, but we do have some national instruments. We have state guarantee and interest rate support. But as Bruno told, we did have this targeted coaching in Finland, which we are regarding the EAFRD instruments. Our start level was 0, and the coaching was really useful for that. And now we are planning maybe for the next period, program period, to have some financial instruments in Finland also. But there are a lot of questions to be answered before we can. But we are doing the job. We are. I think that the most important thing for us as a managing authority is to find out what are the needs for the young farmers and what are the needs and what we can do for them, because finally they are our clients. I would like to say that it's for them that we do our job.
And to make sure it matches what they
yes,
require.
Yes.
We have time for one or two questions. Yes, we have a question over here.
Okay, thank you. I'm a young farmer from Spain, and I wanted to ask a question to Ms. Bedman, because in the South we always we look up to the policies in the North a lot. So I wanted to take the attention to a couple of reasons we have diagnosed on hampers for young farmers to be willing to farm, which are one, sexist education, and we have not talked at all about this. And I mean that profitable farms are closing down just because of the reason that they only have daughters, and that farmers in this way, they have a lot of homework to do. I mean, institutions have homework, but we also have, in terms of educating our daughters for believing that they can do that, and it's not a sexist job at all that everybody can do. And I don't know if you have these types of issues up there. And also in the other aspect I wanted to talk about is that other reasons that young farmers are telling us that they don't want to join the job is the time consuming, especially for small farms that do not have workers at all. In our region, 60% of farmers, they don't have any workers. So it's beginning to be talked about, these types of projects where cooperatives especially, but also private businesses are trying to have backup workers, so farmers can take maternity leave, vacations and stuff like that, and we can compete a little bit more with the private business and the workers' rights they can offer, so people consider farming as their path in life. And I wanted to know if you, what is your opinion in your country about these topics? Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your questions. In Finland, I think that, well, of course, the question between male and female farmers, I think that in Finland it's not such a big issue, but I think that there is still, of course, in the society there is a lot to do to get the equality on that stuff also. But earlier today, I think that the influencers were mentioned, and in Finland also we actually have a lot of young female farmers that are doing social media, and they are showing their work, and they are showing that that females can do it too. So I think that is really good thing. And in Finland, we don't have any specific, when it comes to the policy, we don't have any specific policy for just female farmers. I think that that is something that we will think about when we are regarding the upcoming period, if there is something that we can do for promoting also the female farmers. But we also hear the stories about the farms where you cannot make the transfer because the daughter is the only one who is interested. And that is something that obviously needs to be changed, because we need young farmers regardless if they are male or female. And to your second question, I think that is one of the big things about the attractiveness of agriculture in general, especially when it comes to cattle, or when you have animals and you are tied to the farm 24/7. In Finland, we actually have a system for this. It's a national system where you can get paid paid vacation, or well, not paid vacation, but you can contact the municipality. They have the obligation to arrange some help to your farm. So we have a system for this, so that, but it only considers the cattle, farms with animals that needs to be taken care of every day. So we do have a system for that, and that is also one thing that is really important, because also farmers need to have work-life balance and not only 24/7 work.
Thank you so much for that wonderful question. I think, Casper, you might want to, and I saw you making copious notes.
Well, the thing is, it's very comparable, I think, in the Netherlands to Finland, in the sense that, and also in the Netherlands, we tend to think of ourselves that we're very enlightened in this area. But if you then look at the practice, there's a lot of bias and prejudice towards male farmers. So I really also sense that. And when I talk to farmers, quite often it's like 1 or 2 in 10 that are female. And I don't think that's the official percentage, but it is still the overwhelming feeling you get. So we don't have, as far as I know, a system, as my neighbor mentioned, on taking care of the animals, for example. And we do see in the young generation the whole work-life balance making a huge impact on career choice, which combines with the negative image I already talked about to make it a very relatively unattractive. At the same time, we still see appetite, and we've also noticed it the 2 days here with the young farmers. We still see a lot of energy in young farmers that are convinced that it's the right choice for them to do, and it's the right choice for society to do. So I choose to remain optimistic, but I think you underline some more fundamental points in society that also we need to take care of, and I don't have any easy answers there. No. In the bank, there's no bias at all. I can honestly say that, but that's easy to say. As I said, we don't finance on age. We also don't finance on gender. It's completely neutral, but that doesn't solve all the problems.
Thank you very much. Any further questions from the floor? As you were saying, taking holidays, and of course everybody understands that, you know, farming, particularly, well, in all conditions, but especially with livestock, it requires 24 hours a day, all days of the year to be there. I was thinking of the Borrow My Dog website. It was like, if you could have holidays, borrow my farm for 2 weeks. But of course you need a safe pair of hands. It's almost like babysit my farm for a couple of weeks so I can have a break. I'm sure there's a little industry to be developed there somewhere. Thank you very much, and thank you for being a young farmer here from Spain. It's wonderful to have you with us also. Well, we are out of time. Thank you so much to the panel. Thank you, all of you. I know everybody is going to visit your stand, Bruno, and they're going to pick up all of the paperwork on offer and have conversations over their lunch break that will follow. So thank you once more to all of you. And I am going to leave the floor to Gijs, who has also been making many notes and has many profound thoughts to share with you all, I am sure. Gijs.
Thank you. It's been quite an intensive 2 days, so let me try to add something profound. I hope I will meet that bar, but I think we put up this conference because we believe that generational renewal in agriculture must happen at a faster pace, and we don't want to accept the aging farming population. This is a fact of life, right? So we have a clear policy objective here. Numbers of farmers are declining. We heard some numbers from Greece this morning, for example, but we are convinced there is a future for innovative young farmers in rural areas to deliver food security, sustainable use of natural resources, landscapes, nature, the expanding circular bioeconomy, and we must make farming profitable and future-proof, as we just heard from Finland and the Netherlands. And I think we have all learned these days that access to finance is one of the key areas where we need to act. And we saw that this requires a significant and sustained efforts from all sides, from European institutions, managing authorities, development banks, private banks, banking organizations, farm unions, stakeholders, and of course, let's not forget, farmers. And we need to see more financing made available to young farmers, preferential terms. Lower interest rates, non-collateralized loans, loans with lower collateral requirements, longer maturities. We have heard all these examples, and I think all of them in their specific context are hugely important. And together with our partners from the EIB group, the EIB, but also the EIF, we will continue to support this process of the availability of financial instruments and unlock the potential of young people in agriculture. And I think that is also something I observed here these past days, that there's a strong consensus around generational renewal and the importance of this. So what I wanted to do is look a bit at beyond this conference in terms of follow-up, next steps, that sort of thing. And I think I have four follow-up areas that I want to touch upon. And then I will do a whole bunch of thank yous, and then you can applaud for all the people that have made this whole thing possible. But first, four areas that I want to touch upon. First, I think we talked a lot about public support for financial instruments to make financing, access to finance easier. But of course, that public support needs to be there. And particularly from the European Union side, we need a good common agricultural policy budget. Today, in Brussels, the European Council is meeting, our heads of state and government, discussing the next 7-year budget. I haven't seen any white smoke yet. I don't know if anybody's telephones have been buzzing. So I think it won't be concluded today, but discussions are ongoing, numbers are on the table. I think it's very important that we get a good outcome there. And then that's about the CAP budget, but we also need to look at the European Competitiveness Fund, which includes programs like EU Invest, but also innovation and research program like Horizon. So I think we should not only focus on the common agricultural budget, but on the wider financing possibilities from the EU. And of course, then we need to have that financing anchored also in the common agricultural policy legislation. We talked about it these days. We need a budget target for young farmers. The Commission recommended 6%. The Parliament now is considering 8% of the ring-fenced amount for agriculture. So it's important that a clear message comes from that conversation, that legislative conversation in Brussels as well, and member states hopefully will support this drive as well. And then we need a good set of CAP measures to actually use that money. We have come with a starter pack listing all the different measures that are very important for supporting young farmers: startup aid, higher direct support, advice, investments, of course, financial instruments. And I want to open a bracket here to mention one of the elements that we have proposed, which is linking to the conversation we just had, which is support for farm relief services. So what we are proposing, among others, is a co-financing from the EU for people taking care of a farm to ensure a good work-life balance on a farm, for example, in terms of holidays, disease, maternity leave, etc. So the point made by the Spanish young farmer is very welcome and important, and we hopefully can also contribute to that through the EU budget. So that's follow-up one: European legislation, getting the framework right, making sure the money is there also in the period towards 2034. Then we need to implement these policies from 2028 to 2024. And so that's the next stage, but that stage is already happening. Member states play a key role in implementing the EU financing and ensuring these tailor-made programs that we talk so much about. Firstly, the Commission is developing recommendations to member states on how to use common agricultural policy money. What are the key challenges in a member state that we believe member states should focus on? And of course, generational renewal, as well as the use of financial instruments, are very prominent in there. And this process of developing these recommendations are ongoing. Member states will need to prepare their plans to implement the policies. And they're starting now. This is not something that's going to happen next year. This is starting already. And they're considering how to organize the support for young farmers, what sort of financial instruments to use. And this is part of what we now call national and regional partnership plans. It's not anymore CAP plans, so there's a wider context. We have proposed to come with wider plans for the economy, of which agricultural support is a part. So that also means that the conversations in your member states are with a wider series of partners. So I think it's important to have that in mind, that you need to start those conversations now, be part of them, to make sure there is support for young farmers targeted in the way you need it. And of course, an important element of those plans is that we ask member states to all come up with a generational renewal strategy for agriculture. So that is part of that wider conversation and enables you to bring in those integrated approaches that we've been discussing. And it's, for example, very good that we saw in the presentation Poland this morning already that the Polish Management Authority is considering on how to use future financing through financial instruments for the period after 2027. And I think these 6% target that I talked about, the money for young farmers at EU level, is in a way part of a broader shift in priorities to make sure we really focus on the investment needs of young farmer and the transition of agriculture going forward. And that brings me to the third follow-up, which is basically developing these financial instruments. It's been very encouraging for me and for all of us to see, I think, how many new schemes to support young farmers financially are happening, are being developed, are being considered, besides the one we saw on the screen. I know that several member states are considering initiatives. And it's very encouraging to see how this is being picked up. We see governments and banks actively seeking ways to overcome all these structural barriers we've been talking about. We touched upon collateral, for example. We touched upon land and the broad recognition of this issue of generational renewal. And we believe and hope that all the discussions today provide also and yesterday provide a basis for further development of these instruments, and that this conference in a way is a stepping stone for modernizing European agriculture with generational renewal and this transition to sustainability at its heart. And I think as part of that, I really want to recognize again the work of the C-Compass team for the package of documents that Bruno showed on the slide just now that are available. I make some publicity again, but hey, it's really good material and really insightful, and I really hope that will also contribute to taking the messages of this conference forward into your work when back home. And of course, we hope indeed that the contacts you've developed and the cooperation you've established here will also be a big part of that. And I think we learned yesterday, I closed and I mentioned some of the panels and some of the discussions took place. But again, here this morning, I really want to recognize the people that were on stage on very interesting conversations about land acquisition with examples from Latvia and Italy, the conversation about blended finance from Greece, for example, and also the examples from the work that the EIB group does more broadly, also with their dedicated 3 billion envelope that was explained again this morning. We heard about advice and advisory services from the Netherlands, Finland. So I really think we again saw a lot of additional elements of this policy picture that we need shown here this morning. That were 3 messages. I promised you 4, and you're keeping track of my time. I will. The 4th one is short, but I think it's very important, and I wanted to recognize Lennart, who was on stage this morning, our organic farmer from Germany, focusing on the storytelling, showing the great diversity of the farming profession, the farming passion. And I think this storytelling, this positive message about farming, about the modern farming that we see developing and in which all these investments go, that is really a positive message that we can take back. And part of generational renewal in a way in agriculture is turning around the idea that you leave the village, you leave the farm to study and go do something else, and that's it. Farming, whether full-time or part-time, is part of a rich and fulfilling life for men as well as women. And we need to make sure that this choice is possible. And that's why we need good agricultural policy, fair agricultural markets, and access to finance. And we need to make sure that this opportunity is there for people who inherit from the family, but also, when possible, for those who come from the outside. And then we're back at where we were yesterday when we saw these nice pictures of people getting married. So it's about families, it's a social story, and it's a story about our countryside as much as it is about agriculture only. So those were 4 messages: policy, your national programs, your work on financial instruments, and this positive message about farming. And now we come to the thank yous, because I think, and I've heard some feedback from people left, right, and center about the conference that has been put up, and these were generally very positive. So I think it's really important that we thank all of those who've made this possible. I think the first one to thank is you. Despite the fact that we are almost at the end of the conference, the room is pretty full still, so I'm really happy that you've all there and that you've participated so actively. I want to express my thanks also to the European Banking Association for their support of the recent month, and to the Polish Banking Association specifically also for the panel yesterday. And generally, I think it's very, very, very hospitable to be here in Poland and in Warsaw, so that has been a very good choice of location. I want to thank all the speakers. I'm not going to single all of them out, but special thanks for our farmer speakers, young farmer speakers. We had Leonard and Andrea this morning. To thank our excellent moderators, Elisa. You have made it a very interactive and engaging conference. I want to thank our wonderful interpreters. In fact, yesterday, several people came to me to say that it was such a great interpretation. So thank you very much for providing this excellent service. A technical team that has been great and very flexible, and that has made this a very smooth and wonderful conference. I want to thank the FICOMPAS team for organizing the event, and that includes the colleagues from the European Investment Bank, but also the colleagues from DG Agri, who've put also a lot of energy into this. So my colleagues in DG Agri, also a big thank you to you. And with that, I think I've mentioned now a lot of people to say thank you to, so I want to ask you for an applause for all of these people, please. And then I have 2 more lines. One is, there's a light lunch. I'm sure that will be enjoyable. Lisa, maybe you have more about that. And I want to remind us again about the next conference in Lisbon, 15th of October, I think is the date. And the program is in development, but we hope to see many of you again for deepening the conversation about financial instruments in agriculture. And with that, thank you very much from my side.
Yes. Thank you. Well, he has covered everything, and I'm certainly not going to keep you from food. Thank you from my side. I just have one specific message, and without these 3 people, all of these speakers would not have been found. Of course, it is a huge team, but notably, and I would ask them to stand up if they're not too embarrassed, Miglena. From the EIB. Balázs, if you could stand up also from the EIB. And Nivelin. He's at the back already standing up. Thank you so much. Thank you to you 3, because they are the triangle on which everything else is built. So thank you all very, very much. And I hope you're now a little bit relieved and you can enjoy Warsaw. Thank you so much for hosting us in Poland. Thank you.